Strains. There are a lot of great ones. I mean, you got Whoppy Toppy Helicopter Glider, Turtle Hermit Loud, Disco Ninja Shuriken, Long Island Psychosis, Galactic DUI, just fabulous strains that we all know don't exist. Ha! You fell for it. Even though, I don't blame you, cause Crouching Tiger, Hidden Alien, and Gooey Grape Gorilla Glue 4 are real strains that I didn't make up and are just as, if not more ridiculous than Galactic DUI. But did you know there are multiple strains that our forefathers adored? Strains that back in the day were considered the literal holy grail of Zaza, worth their weight in gold, but sadly don't exist anymore. Which, ironically, Acapulco Gold is probably the most famous and sad cases of this phenomenon. Why? Well, let me tell you about it for the sake of science and education. See, back in the 1960s, when most people were smoking mystery backyard oregano, Acapulco Gold showed up looking like it came from heaven's greenhouse. It wasn't just strong, it was beautiful. Golden orange buds covered in resin, smelling like honey and spice. It looked expensive before you even lit it. The fade was what really sealed the deal. Clean, euphoric, and energizing. It didn't melt you into the couch, it made you feel alive. Artists, hippies, musicians, everyone loved it because it fueled creativity instead of killing it. You could write poetry, play guitar, or question capitalism all in one sitting. And then there was the mystique. You couldn't just go buy Acapulco Gold anywhere. It came from a small coastal region in Guerrero, Mexico, son. So when it did show up in the States, it was like treasure. Plugs bragged about having it, magazines wrote about it, even pop culture icons name dropped it. Basically, Acapulco Gold was the first celebrity strain. It represented everything people imagined good grass could be: exotic, natural, and untouchably elite. So what happened to it? In short, the DEA happens. By the late 1970s, the US government decided Mexico was exporting a little too much happiness and launched a series of eradication campaigns. The most infamous was Operation Condor, basically translated to Let's Napalm Paradise. Entire fields of Acapulco Gold were burned, sprayed, or bulldozed out of existence. Local farmers who'd spent generations perfecting those golden genetics either fled or switched to faster growing high-yield hybrids to survive. Within a few years, the original line, the real sun-curd, honey-scented Acapulco Gold, was gone. What's left today are hybrids borrowing the name for nostalgia points. Yo, see, I know how much you love the za. Well, I think you love it more. So I mean us, the last remaining Acapulco Gold. Bruh, there's no way. It doesn't exist anymore. It was all burned by Reagan and the boys. Nah, man. My plug Dave told me his grandpa was actually a part of Operation Condor, and he said that just before they napalmed everything, he took a few seeds, and well, he's been growing it in his basement ever since. Of course, he did charge a premium, but I mean, who wouldn't? I hate to break it to you, but the only thing growing in Dave's house is his appetite for crack cocaine. Man, whether Dave is a crackhead or not, it don't change the fact I got this. Bruh, that ain't Acapulco Gold. That's Acapulco mold, son. While the DEA were out in Mexico burning that pure natural Zaza, the government was also allegedly cooking up an abomination in a lab. That strain was called G13. According to legends, sometime in the 1970s, the US government, maybe the CIA, maybe the FBI, maybe just a group of very bored scientists, decided to make the perfect za. The story goes that they gathered the best genetics from all around the world, Afghani indicas, Thai sativas, Colombian golds, and started crossbreeding them in a top secret lab at the University of Mississippi, which, fun fact, really was the only place allowed to grow for research. Out of those experiments came one plant that supposedly outsmoked the rest, Government Indica 13, or G13 for short. It was rumored to be so strong that even agents testing it couldn't handle it. The high was heavy, the THC was off the charts, and the legend says one rogue scientist smuggled a cutting out of the lab and released it to the public, basically doing God's work. Now, officially the government says none of this ever happened, which of course makes it sound way more real. Whether it was a lab-grown super strain or just a really good story, G13 became a myth that outlasted most of the people who smoked it. If it was true, the original clone is long gone, lost to time and bad breeding, but its name still shows up on dispensary menus. The only difference, the one in your local shop probably wasn't made by the CIA. Seems like the government really enjoyed destroying Zaza, but there was one strain that didn't need any any help. It destroyed itself. A self-inflicted extinction born from pure success. That strain was called Roadkill Skunk. A name that was apparently not an exaggeration because people said it really did smell like actual roadkill. We're talking next level stench, the kind of smell that could end relationships, clear a room, or make your mailman file a complaint. But behind that horrifying aroma was one of the most powerful and unique strains of its time. Heavy, sticky, knockout grass that could flatten even better in tokers. Old school growers swore by it, saying you could smell it before you could see it, like the world's most illegal air freshener. Then legalization started creeping in, neighbors got sensitive, and dispensaries wanted approachable terps. You know, fruity, sweet, smells like a smoothie type za. Nobody wanted their living room to reek like a biology project gone wrong, so growers started crossing and breeding the smell out of it, toning it down, making it civilized, and somewhere along the way, they erased the original. No DEA raid, no government lab, just society deciding that weed was too loud, bro. Now, anything labeled skunk is basically a domesticated descendant. Polite, perfumed, deodorized, the real roadkill skunk is gone, a victim of its own success. Proof that sometimes being unforgettable means you don't get invited back. But there's one more strain that went extinct, not because the DEA torched it, not because it smelled like roadkill, but because it was just too damn high maintenance. The diva of weed, always craving attention, affection, and 5 months of your undivided love. And eventually, growers did what any exhausted partner would do. They moved on to the neighborhood hoe. That strain was Nivelles Haze. Created in the late 80s by legendary breeder Nivelle Schoenmakers, this was its equivalent of a genius artist. Brilliant, beautiful, and completely insufferable. The high was electric, euphoric, borderline psychedelic. Smokers said it could launch you straight into the astral plane, but to get there, growers had to wait 16 to 20 weeks for it to flower, double the time of normal strains. At first, that patience paid off. It became one of the most respected sativas ever bred, but as the industry got faster and greedier, Nivelles Haze couldn't keep up. Why nurture a moody genius when you can grow 2 rounds of easy hybrids that print cash? By the 2000s, the real cut was basically gone, replaced by quicker, simpler haze strains that lacked the magic but gained the efficiency. Nivelles Haze didn't die in a blaze of DEA napalm, it just got ghosted. Proof that in the za world, even legends can get left on red. Have you ever heard the term medical marijuana? Most likely, yes. However, the real question is, what do you picture when you hear it? If you're imagining a serious cancer patient using cannabis to keep food down during chemo, you're technically correct. But if we're being honest, 9 times out of 10, medical marijuana is just Chad from down the street who paid $30 for an online consultation, got a card in 15 minutes, and now justifies ripping a bong every morning with the phrase, "It's medical, bro." But then again, it's not like cannabis is the only place this happens. Take ADHD and Adderall, for example. You've probably heard someone say, "Bro, I literally need Adderall to focus. I have ADHD." Sure, ADHD is a real diagnosis, but let's not pretend half the college campus didn't suddenly discover it. They had it the moment finals week rolled around. Adderall is literally just amphetamines. Yup, the same chemical family as the party drug people pop at raves to dance for 12 hours straight. So are these people really suffering from a crippling, incurable attention disorder, or are they just lazy, unmotivated, and conveniently enjoying the energy boost of pharmaceutical speed with a prescription label slapped on it? And here's where it gets even more interesting. ADHD isn't the only condition where this clash happens, because medical marijuana is prescribed for everything from pain to sleep to anxiety to seizures, and Big Pharma already has its own drug for every one of those. So now the real question isn't just weed versus Adderall, it's weed versus Big Pharma, period. Which one's worse, sparking up a medical bowl to take the edge off, or swallowing the pharmaceutical equivalent that comes with a 2-page side effect list? Is it better to knock yourself out with Ambien or pass out with an edible? Kill pain with Oxy or just get too high to care about it? That's the comparison we're making today. One plant versus an entire multi-billion-dollar industry of pills. And just so we're clear, I'm not a doctor, but I'm gonna try my best to keep this as objective as possible, basing my conclusions on medical studies with just a little bit of personal experience sprinkled in for honesty's sake. We are going to go over all the major medical reasons cannabis is prescribed, comparing them to Big Pharma's recommendations, and by the end of it, we'll see who racks up more W's. Anyway, let's start off with the most common reason medical marijuana is prescribed, and that is chronic pain. When it comes to chronic pain, cannabis works like a background buff. It doesn't magically repair the problem, but it makes living with it a whole lot more manageable. A massive 2017 National Academies report reviewed over 10,000 studies and concluded there's substantial evidence that cannabis helps with chronic pain in adults. In plain English, it's not a placebo, it's not a stoner myth. It actually works, especially for nerve-related pain where over-the-counter stuff like ibuprofen doesn't cut it. Now, to be fair, opioids aren't the only prescription option. Doctors also hand out NSAIDs like Celebrex, antidepressants like Cymbalta, or anticonvulsants like gabapentin. They all have their place. NSAIDs can help with arthritis, antidepressants and seizure meds work decently for nerve pain, but they come with their own trade-offs. Stomach ulcers, brain fog, emotional flatlining, none of them are addictive like opioids, but none hit as broadly as cannabis either. Big Pharma's main weapon, though, is still opioids. Oxycodone, hydrocodone, morphine, these drugs absolutely erase pain, but at a cost. The CDC estimates that about 1 in 4 people prescribed opioids misuse them, and around 10% develop full-blown opioid addiction. They work so well at shutting pain down that they also shut down your ability to not be hooked. The side effect list isn't pretty either. Nausea, constipation that feels like a Dark Souls boss fight, and of course, the risk of overdose. Cannabis comes with side effects too, but they're more like inconveniences than life or death scenarios. Dry mouth, red eyes, occasional paranoia, and maybe demolishing your entire pantry at 2 a.m. The biggest difference is that no one's overdosing on weed. Worst case, you fall asleep halfway through a show and wake up surrounded by snack wrappers. The kicker? States with medical cannabis programs have actually seen drops in opioid prescriptions. A 2016 study in Health Affairs showed doctors in those states prescribed significantly fewer opioids, meaning patients were choosing weed over pills and still getting relief. That's not just stoner hearsay, that's data. So here's the trade-off. Opioids are still necessary for extreme situations like surgery or hospital-level pain, but for everyday chronic pain, cannabis can be just as effective without the Russian roulette of addiction and overdose. Other meds can work too, but they're either weaker or bog you down with side effects. One option risks turning you into a statistic, the other just risks you becoming best friends with the delivery guy at Taco Bell. So my conclusion is that although opioids are still medically very useful for end-of-life scenarios and extreme hospital-level pain, medical weed, in almost every other case where it's effective for the person, is a much safer alternative. So 1-0 medical Zaza. Next up, nausea and appetite, mostly for cancer patients going through chemotherapy. When it comes to nausea and appetite loss, especially in cancer patients going through chemo, cannabis is like flipping the God mode switch on food. Not only does it calm nausea, it also makes a subpar meal taste like a Michelin star experience. This isn't just stoner hype either. Studies show cannabinoids like THC are effective antiemetics, meaning they actually reduce nausea and vomiting. That's why synthetic THC meds like dronabinol are FDA approved for chemo side effects. Pharma's main option here is ondansetron, better known as Sofran. It works great for stopping nausea, but it doesn't do much for appetite. You'll stop puking, but food will still taste like drywall. There are also appetite stimulants like magistral acetate, which can put the weight back on, just not always where you want it, and sometimes with lovely side effects like mood swings or blood clots. Cannabis, on the other hand, handles both problems at once. It suppresses nausea and gets you hungry enough to demolish a family-sized pizza without hesitation. The side effects are mild by comparison. Red eyes, dry mouth, maybe laughing too hard at a Itscbdbro video, and the data backs it up. In head-to-head studies, cannabis and THC-based meds often work as well as or better than traditional anti-nausea drugs, with the added benefit of appetite stimulation. That's 2 birds with 1 blunt, bro. So here's the trade-off. If you want something clinical and predictable, Sofran does its job well. If you need the double whammy, stop puking and actually want to eat again, cannabis is the more complete option. One keeps you out of the bathroom, the other gets you back in the kitchen. Honestly, this one isn't even close, and I can say that from personal experience. A close family member of mine went through chemo, and the only thing that actually helped was weed. Watching that, it's hard not to see the bigger picture. The fact that so many countries still refuse to allow medical cannabis in this exact context feels outright cruel. There are thousands of people right now stuck enduring the nightmare of chemo with no real relief, just because their government still treats weed like some dangerous street drug. It's messed up, but that's the reality, especially in places like Eastern Europe. Conclusion, weed racks up an easy W here. 2-0, next up, PTSD and anxiety. Anxiety, I feel it trying in me. When it comes to PTSD and anxiety, Big Pharma usually offers you two paths. The first is SSRIs like Prozac or Zoloft, the slow burners. They can help over time, but it takes weeks or even months before you feel anything, and in the meantime you're basically stuck in low emotion mode, like someone turned your life down to grayscale. The second option is benzos like Xanax or Ativan. These actually work instantly, melting anxiety in minutes, but the catch is they're insanely addictive. Stay on them long enough and you don't just get relief, you get a brand new problem, trying to quit them without losing your mind. Cannabis, on the other hand, works quickly for a lot of people. A puff or two can take the edge off in minutes, and unlike benzos, it won't leave you hooked. There's even clinical evidence to back it up. Studies show cannabinoids can help with sleep disturbances, nightmares, and hyperarousal symptoms in PTSD patients. A downside is that cannabis is a bit of a double-edged sword. The right dose calms you down, the wrong dose, and suddenly your anxiety has a new skin. Instead of worrying about the past, you're now convinced your microwave is spying on you. So the trade-off is this: SSRIs are stable but slow, benzos are fast but risky, and weed sits somewhere in between. Quick relief without the same addiction danger, but a bigger chance of overshooting into paranoia if you're not careful. If you can manage dosage, cannabis can be a safe, effective option that doesn't leave you dependent on a pharmacy refill. Conclusion: I would personally give it to weed, but I feel like that would be more of a personal opinion here, so I'ma tie it 3-1 the za. Next up, insomnia. When it comes to insomnia, Big Pharma's go-to is Ambien, and Ambien definitely works. It can knock you out hard. The problem is how unpredictable it can be. Some people just sleep like a rock, while others end up cooking full meals, online shopping sprees, or even taking the car for a spin in the middle of the night with zero memory of it afterward. Effective, yes, but a little like playing roulette with your own sleep cycle. Cannabis is a different story. It can help some people fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer, especially with heavier indica strains or higher doses of THC. Studies do back this up. Patients with insomnia report shorter time to sleep onset and better rest overall. But here's the catch: it doesn't hit everyone the same way. Some people find it a miracle sleep aid. Others, like me, barely feel any sedating effect at all. And if you use it every night, tolerance builds fast and suddenly the knockout effect is gone. Side effects are generally less dramatic than Ambien's sleep driving risks. With weed, you're more likely to just doze off mid-Netflix and wake up surrounded by snacks. But there's still debate about long-term effects on REM sleep, so it's not exactly risk-free either. So if we're being fair, Ambien is a stronger hammer for forcing your body to shut down, but it comes with serious risks. Cannabis is gentler and safer, but not as reliable, and not everyone actually gets sleepy from it. Conclusion: I'm calling this one a draw. Ambien wins on raw knockout power, but weed wins on safety. Which is better really depends on the person, and for some of us, weed doesn't do much at all for sleep. 4-2 Zaza. Next up, Parkinson's. When it comes to Parkinson's, Big Pharma's MVP is levodopa, and to be fair, it works. It's the gold standard, reduces tremors, helps with movement, and has decades of research behind it. But long-term, levodopa has its own dark side. The longer you're on it, the less effective it becomes, and the more weird side effects creep in, like involuntary movements that look like your body is glitching out in real life. Cannabis, on the other hand, is a lot murkier. Some studies and patient reports say it helps with tremors, stiffness, sleep, and overall quality of life. Others show little to no measurable improvement. Basically, the science hasn't caught up yet, but plenty of patients swear by it. The side effects are pretty mild compared to pharmaceuticals. You might get a little too relaxed, forget where you put your keys, or get the munchies, but you're not risking life-threatening complications. So the trade-off is this: levodopa is proven, reliable, and clinically necessary. It's the main reason people with Parkinson's can still function day to day. Weed, at best, is a decent sidekick. Not strong enough to replace the main treatment, but potentially useful for symptom relief and quality of life. So Big Pharma takes the W here. Levodopa is still the king. Weed might be helpful as a backup, but it's not ready to carry the team. So we'll call this one 4-3, which this is getting really close. The perfect high. A mythical experience, a rare moment in time where everything aligns and your brain briefly achieves Zen. For decades, no, centuries, scientists have tried to figure out the formula, the equation, the math behind the perfect high. Einstein even took a swing at it, proposing E equals MC squared, or experience equals method times cannabis squared. This was later accepted as a foundational law explaining how the universe works, just in a slightly different context than he intended. Now, the perfect high isn't really something you can measure. It's more of a concept than a measurable existence. It has just as much to do with your mindset, emotional state, and what you're doing as it does with the Zaza itself. In fact, achieving it requires such precise alignment across so many areas of life that the Declaration of Independence literally guarantees every human the right to pursue it. They call it the pursuit of happiness. Now, for all my fellow explorers who still haven't experienced this phenomenon, don't worry, I'm here to help. Because even though everybody's perfect high requires different prerequisites, the underlying concept is always the same. And unlike Einstein, who proposed his equation, I'm here to propose a different one, a superior one. You could even say this makes my brain superior to Einstein's. Hey, your words, not mine. So what's the formula? How did I come up with it, and why is it disturbingly legit? Well, for the sake of science, education, and let's be real, the furtherment of mankind, I'll explain all of it. So, without further ado, E equals T times ES plus A minus T, which sounds like absolute gibberish until it doesn't. Let's break down what each of these letters actually means and why this formula makes perfect, complete sense. E stands for experience, the high itself. The experience is what you actually remember. The perfect high isn't, I was extremely faded and therefore it was fun. It's when the memory itself is good and the high just upgrades it from a regular memory to a core memory. That's the goal. Not being obliterated, being present in something worth amplifying. T is for terpenes. Yes, shocking. The Zaza you're sparking matters. I know, revolutionary. But this variable is crucial because terpenes don't exist in isolation. They need to change depending on the other factors in the equation. There is no universal terpene profile that magically works every time. Different moods, different plans, different mental states require different chemistry. Trying to force one strain of lettuce to work for everything isn't science, it's laziness. ES stands for emotional state. This one is non-negotiable. How you feel before you spark up is exactly how you're going to feel, just louder. If you're already overthinking and then you spark some introspective philosophical za the day after your girlfriend leaves you, bro, you already know how that ends. What did I do wrong? Why didn't I see it coming? Am I ever going to love again? Your emotional state must be taken into account when choosing between a couch-locking Indicano or a universal ponderer Satovia. Otherwise, you're not getting faded, you're scheduling a mental spiral. A stands for activity. What are you planning to do after sparking up? Watch a movie, play a game, go for a walk, scroll brain rot, do homework, plan your escape from the Matrix? Because here's the thing, grass is an amplifier. It amplifies your emotions, your thoughts, and your fun. So if you're about to do something complicated, you probably don't want a strain that turns you into a melted Snickers bar. At the same time, if you're watching Family Guy, you probably don't want some heady lettuce that has you contemplating the meaning of life and your mortality during a cutaway gag. And finally, the second T, time, as in time of day. This one should be obvious, but just in case, let's say you spark up some heavy Satovia, super lemon haze, nighttime, vibes are perfect. You watch your show, play your game, everything hits. Now it's time to sleep. Except you can't. Your brain is doing 100 miles per hour like your plug laced your grass with Adderall. Now the night isn't remembered as legendary, it's remembered as the night you discovered insomnia. Same thing in reverse. You spark some Indicano Reggiano during the day, planning to link with the home dogs, but now the thought of standing up feels physically impossible. Sure, you might enjoy binging Stranger Things Season 5 in the moment, but once the high fades and your friends start snapping pics with the baddies, yeah, that's when you're suddenly watching videos titled, How I Quit Smoking Zaza and Got My Life Together. But to truly understand this magical formula, you need to hear about one of the rare times I personally achieved Zen. A moment where the universe aligned perfectly and I reached full Zaza nirvana. The terps were from a strain I had recently fallen in love with, Biscotti. If you know, you know. The entire vibe of that lettuce was chill. As in, kick back, do something low energy but stimulating, and just exist. Which lined up perfectly with my emotional state. I had worked out 3 days in a row, just finished making one of these amazing videos, and mentally it felt like Friday night after clocking out of a job I don't actually have. For the activity, I went with a double whammy. I booted up an incredible game called Black Ops 7. Okay, apparently everyone hates it, but I didn't know that yet. Ignorance truly is bliss. And while gaming, I ordered Chipotle, which felt less like food and more like a scheduled delivery from the heavens themselves. And the time of day, obviously nighttime. A classic Itscbdbro night goblin gaming plus munch session. Textbook. Would I call it my best high ever? No. But for what it was, with every variable lined up, it was absolutely perfect. No worries, no sudden emergency quests popped up, no spirals into the overall point of life, just faded and sweating my balls off to stay barely positive on the game. What a great time. Now, you might be thinking, you're just a lazy stoner. That would have been a so-called perfect high, no matter what. And if this were a courtroom and I were the defendant, this is where I'd want my lawyer to stand up and yell, "Objection!" Because I don't just believe this, I know it. If even one of those variables was off, that fade would have been anything but perfect. For example, replace my emotional state, which was chill, with my usual default setting, grind mode. Instead of gaming stress-free, I'd be checking my phone every 10 minutes thinking, one more game, one more, then I'll start working. Instant vibe killer. Replace the time of day, night, with daytime, and suddenly I'm hit with random side quests like pick up grandma, help with groceries, clean your room. Again, total vibe kill. Now replace the terps with something more energizing. Not only is there a high chance of light insomnia, but now I'm also frustrated because I'm getting absolutely slapped in the game instead of calmly accepting my fate, pulling out the cheesy automatic fire shotgun and camping without a single care in the world. So there you have it, the perfected formula. Einstein would be proud. Sunrock, the most powerful grass that humanity has ever conjured up, with even its less potent relative Moonrock being so extreme that
Moonrock is too
says
much,
it's
dog.
too much. And since I had once already traveled to the moon and made it back alive, barely, I saw it only fitting for me to conquer the sun as well.
Ultimate sun.
But unlike last time, where I was in Amsterdam with my brother and had the comfort of tweaking together, this time I was alone, nearly 6,000 miles away from home, in the city of sin, Las Vegas, Nevada. The story kicks off a couple days after I had hit my first blinker and discovered a new realm of high. You know, kinda like Columbus when he discovered America, but unlike Columbus who annihilated the indigenous people, I was annihilating that, you know, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, after seeing firsthand what the land of the free can offer in terms of getting obliterated beyond the realms of Mother Nature, I was quite intrigued. So, out of curiosity, I decided to Google strongest weed you can get in Las Vegas, just in case there was something more potent than Moonrock, which up until this point, I thought was the pinnacle of bud. So after stumbling upon an article comparing the rocks from the moon and sun, I realized that in my ignorance, I had crowned a false king, and the only deserving punishment for a big smarty pants weed stickman YouTuber like myself was to feel the full wrath of the true strongest weed in the universe. I hopped on the local Las Vegas weed dispensary site in hopes of having it delivered to me like the Benjamin, but either due to current weather conditions or just a delivery man greening the fuck out, it said, "We are currently not providing deliveries." But for the time being, I had no other choice than to leave my apartment and go to the closest dispensary in hopes of them having this exotic nug in stock. Only problem was that it was night and well, your boy wasn't exactly staying at Caesar's Palace, so as I was preparing to go outside in the dark, where, mind you, I saw a guy walking around wearing a safety vest, rocking a handlebar mustache, and carrying a double-barrel shotgun the night before, I just had to take a quick rip from the bong to make it a high story, you know? Okay, 2 miles that way. Wish I had a car. Guess I'll just run. Fucking bullshit.
A few minutes later.
Hello, sir? Oh yeah, hello. You guys have something called Sunrock? It's like, nope. Just sold the last stock. Those guys bought it. We got Moonrock, though. No, I've already done that. You know where I can get some Sunrocks, though? Yeah, the store a mile from here should have some left. Okay, yeah, thank you.
A few minutes later.
Sorry, I gotta see your passport first, bruh. No, but this is like my government-issued ID, can you? Look, I'm sorry. We have a lot of people visiting from banana republics these days, and we can't start selling to everybody with a rinky-dinky, this is a real country, Google it, ID card. Come back with a passport, and I'll hook you up. I'm not from Banana Republic. We made Skype.
Hello there.
Yes, I had to now walk back 3 miles, get my passport, walk another 3 to get the Sunrock, and then walk another 3 back home. And mind you, I had already ran 3 miles too. So you know, of course, cause your boy fast as ball, quick as an electrical jolt, I got an Uber back home. But now I was fresh again, so of course I put on my Space Jams and I got an Uber. But then when I was there and showed my passport, received my $80 weed, I was not trying to get robbed on the walkway filled with homeless camps in Las Vegas. Vegas fiends, so I got an Uber. Finally, after wasting a week's transportation budget in 40 minutes, I was back in my apartment, sunrock in hand and rolling papers in my pockets. And yes, unlike last time with the moon rock, I wasn't about to smack that shit from my bong and get assimilated. Cause from the blinker I had done a couple days back, I learned my lesson about concentrate. Do not underestimate it. So I rolled me up a Slimmy Slimmer, basically a very small J. And something you might not know is that with these caviar nugs like sunrock, you're not really supposed to grind them with a regular grinder, so I just used my fingers to break the nug apart, and because of that, well, let's just say the airflow on this J was god awful. Later on I would find out you're not supposed to smoke sunrock from a J at all, but hey, you live and you learn. Anyway, I went to my patio and attempted to light this abomination, and I mean, it really was. Imagine taking some A4 Wagyu steak and serving it in a dirty bucket, but alas, I still... The first puff, yes, the goddamn first puff got me drafted in a galactic war against the Matrix. And I think that had to do with the fact that Jay only had like 3 puffs in it, cause I was basically just smoking straight nugs. But I decided for the legacy of Itscbdbro, I shall do another puff. The French Revolution, the Napoleonic Wars, the moon landing, the splitting of the atom, the theory of relativity, it all flashed before my eyes because I now saw the world from an interstellar position. And I would love to say I now went on some grand adventure and discovered the Holy Grail with some Las Vegas crackheads, but this was different. The high was spent glued to my couch, wondering the meaning of the universe and how I had traveled 6,000 miles across the ocean and was now sitting on a couch in some random Airbnb completely and utterly blasted beyond human understanding. After about 15 minutes of doing literally nothing but staring at my wall, I decided to watch some YouTube and found this guy called Oversimplified who makes these historical animation videos and spent a good portion of my high learning about the history of our world. Too bad I don't remember a goddamn thing, but at the time I felt like I was really becoming a damn scholar. I guess the lessons and memories of that high are waiting for me once I return to the land of the sun. Where am I?
Man, I told you not to smoke that sun rock. You stuck on the sun now, fool, with the rest of us.
No! Oh, no, wait, that was just a dream. Damn, I'm fucked up.
Yeah, bro. You were in a hell of a kush coma.
Yeah, I guess I was. Wait! Bro, I got stuck in a kush coma, my dudes. Shit was crazy, and I don't actually remember the exact dreams I saw, but they were pretty trippy, and it was one of those Inception things that had me waking up from a dream into another dream, son. Safe to say, I had gotten assimilated. But it was kind of nice, because it was a real clear high without anxiety, which usually when you get that obliterated, it always comes accompanied with just a little bit of anxiety at least. So, are sun rocks stronger than moon rocks? Yes, but the main thing I took from this high was that they also kinda better. The first high, a core memory, and whether you enjoyed it or not doesn't really matter, cause for 95% of people, their first time literally shapes their entire opinion on the grass. Almost everybody who isn't age 50 or over and says, weed is the work of the devil, and should be more illegal than even meth. Well, actually it is. The Za is Schedule 1 and meth is Schedule 2, so... Yeah, that's right. That's why I love America. Greatest damn country in the world. USA! 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 Anyway, what I was saying was that most people who tweak their first time are put off by it for a while and shape into Za haters, and people who have fun their first time, believe it or not, don't all become mindless junkies who eat Little Caesars and watch SpongeBob all day. Rather, when asked their opinion on weed, they'll probably just say,
my stomach turned into an endless void with an unquenchable hunger for anything edible, which was followed by a sleepiness so uncontrollable I passed out halfway into my 25th Twinkie. It was pretty fun.
So obviously me, Itscbdbro, who runs an entire YouTube channel dedicated to the green plant, must have had the latter experience, right? Well, not really. As you see, when I was but a wee lad, uncontaminated by the forbidden fruits of the world like alcohol, nicotine, and yes, weed, always believed that alcohol makes you homeless, nicotine makes you a little bitch, and weed makes you lazy. Thinking that, I didn't want to waste not just my first high, but my very first time feeling anything besides normal on eating Doritos and watching Family Guy. Which, after turning 17, I decided it was about time I lost my substance virginity and planned to do so on Christmas dinner, where I was gonna let El Marijuana put its big, fat, thick, juicy, delicately rolled J in my mouth, but only after I had eaten, as I believed if my tummy was full, I wouldn't get the munchies and could instead contemplate the meaning of life my time high. And thankfully, I had an older brother who was more than willing to give me a puff or two from his Christmas dinner J for $4, the fucking cheapskate. So we went upstairs and started puffing, which Rezex was instantly bamboozled from the magic grass. Nice, it's not a dud. Now it's my turn. I grabbed the J and puffed until I could puff no more. And the result was, I didn't feel a damn thing. Still had to pay the $4 though. Fucking bullshit. Anyway, as we went through the day, I got increasingly more jealous of my brother, who by his words was fried AF. I was beginning to think maybe I'm immune to getting high, which after telling my brother this theory, he concluded that I'm stupid and just didn't inhale the za in my lungs, and so generously told me to follow him upstairs, where he gave me a couple more puffs for an extra $4, the damn venture capitalist. As I was smoking away, keeping in mind to inhale it all the way down to my lungs, I still wasn't feeling anything, and my hopes of getting fried AF were beginning to look more like a distant dream. When I finished puffing, I sat down at the computer to look at some of those watch while high videos, and my brother asked me, "So, you feel anything now?" No, I don't. What's this weird I'm not sure. I don't know, seems to me you're fried like some Kentucky chicken, boy. I was indeed fried, and incredibly so. Although I didn't smoke a ton, my body had never experienced anything besides a sugar rush and maybe a caffeine kick. So as I was watching this watch while you're high video, I was laughing at everything and was tripping the fuck out. But not in a bad way, it was freaking amazing. Being high was what I always imagined it to be until... Bloop. I'm sober again. Yeah, you heard right. My first high lasted like 30 seconds, and in an instant, I was back to normal, which I don't know why. Even to this day, when I tell people about this, nobody can relate because no one has experienced this phenomenon. But since I'm a scientist, I have developed a super duper concrete theory backed by quantum mechanics and the late great Stephen Hawking on my experience, and overall the reason why a lot of people who smoke their first time don't feel anything. I theorize that all humans have a natural block against foreign substances, a wall per se, and when an individual inhales za, the particles act kind of like micromissiles targeting your cannabinoid receptors. For the people whose defensive wall is strong enough, it will stop all perpetrators attempting to infiltrate your brain. But this wall isn't regeneratable, so if the micromissiles fail to get you fried at first, the next time they'll have an easier time against your already damaged wall of defense. Now, I bet you're thinking to yourself, this mofo been smoking too much of that Einstein pack. And to you, I say maybe, but also I have practical proof of this theory. I used to be a pro baller, and one day me and a couple hooper friends who all have great immune systems and therefore probably good za defensive walls decided to smoke up, and to my buddies, it was their first time. Once we lit the J and passed it around, I made sure to tell everybody to inhale the smoke in their lungs, which I'm pretty sure they all did, but still, I was the only one who got high, cause it wasn't my first time. But when I smoked up with some of my non-athlete first-timer friends, they all got high like normal. So, conclusion, defensive saw wall is a real thing and I stand by my theory. Anyway, although that was my first time feeling high, I wouldn't call it my first high because it only lasted for half a minute. My first real high experience was something even more memorable and etched to my brain until I die. A couple weeks after the last incident, me and Rizx decided it was about damn time I actually felt the true love and touch of the Mary Jane. And this time, instead of having only scratch scraps of za, we bought a whole gram to hopefully destroy my highly speculative za wall. I think it's real. Also, at this time, we were obsessed with freestyle rapping, so we decided the plan of action was to smoke up, eat candy, and rap battle to copyright-free beats while recording it, so we could listen to our unreleased tracks in the morning. Since our parents were away for the night, we got the whole apartment to ourselves, and planned on rolling 2 J's, both containing 0.5 G's. Since we were petrified at the thought of getting caught blazing, instead of being sensible and smoking the J's near a window and just blowing the smoke out, we put our jackets on and walked 500 feet away from the apartment to light up, just to be sure that there wouldn't even be a microfiber of evidence that we were smoking the devil's lettuce. As we were consuming the J, all I could hope for was that this time I wouldn't just get a limited free trial, but the actual full version. But alas, when we finished puffing the J, I again felt nothing, or at least that's what I thought, cause as we arrived back home, I finally realized that, so you feeling it? Yeah, kinda. Sometimes the high hits you a couple minutes later, especially if you're going from outdoors to indoors as we did. And my highly accepted theory in the science community about this phenomenon is that through evolution, we have always considered indoors to be our safe zone and outdoors dangerous. Therefore, when you're outside, your brain doesn't allow the full faded and relaxed effect to take over, probably in anticipation of a roadman coming and chefing you up with the mandem. Okay, this one I'm not so confident in, and I have to come clean. I am in no shape or form associated with the science community. Yet. Anyway, now that we were high and in the living room, we started putting on some beats and freestyling, and to this day, I have yet to replicate the skill and precision of my flow that high. It's hard to explain, but nowadays, I can't rap for shit. I mean, I'll spit one line and be like, yo, I've been getting money making racks, cause you know I'm flipping packs. That's facts. Yeah, that's it. Basically, I run out of rhymes pretty fast, but that day, I did not. In fact, even when my brain had nothing to say, my mouth rapped it for me. I turned into a freestyling robot and became dead sure that I was gonna make it out by dropping a mixtape and becoming a famous rapper. Until we listened to the recording in the morning and realized, yo, flowing on the go. Your girl, she a hoe, making money dancing with a pole. My girl making dough while doing lines of blow. Cause we in the penthouse, baby, living life, and that's for show. Yeah, I'll try YouTube instead. What's crazy though is that after that, I was never able to replicate the auto rapping again, so my rap career never flowered, but who knows, maybe I'll try to convert this channel into lyric videos and shitposting, all while steadily alienating my audience and killing my channel. Or maybe I should just make a separate channel for that? Nah, that's dumb. I don't know about you guys, but I swear, these days, whenever I go outside to catch some fresh air and enjoy the glory of the sun, I'm instantly greeted with mofos triple tapping the Elfington like it was a raid boss. Young, old, fat, ripped, it don't matter. Everybody consuming the Nick some way or the other. Shit, not even our goddamn elementary schools are safe. 12-year-old kids be waking up one day and just being like, you know what? Today seems like the perfect day to get an awful addiction that I will regret for the rest of my life and struggle to control daily. Yeah, better hit up Jimmy too. Maybe he wants to join in. But not all nicotine addicts are the same. In fact, there are a lot of different perspectives on the whole addiction aspect. But one of the worst types to be is the dude who never admits he is addicted. We all know a dude like this. Mofo be sucking on the Benjamin 24/7 or stuffing pouches under his gums every 5 minutes. But when asked if he is addicted, he always hits you with the, nah bro, just the fur. I can quit whenever. I just don't wanna right now. Like, what you mean you don't wanna? Bro been consuming so much Nick, his brain has literally turned into a damn elf bar. And when you tell him to prove it by, I don't know, not vaping for a week, they always hit you with that, man, I ain't gotta prove nothing to you. You don't know me, what I've been through. I'm a dog, I'm a killer. Now, it's okay. It's gonna be okay. Even even though this dude kinda stubborn, I feel for him. Cause who really wants to admit they can't stop? But this next dude, I don't feel bad for at all. The guy who seems to think it's cool to be addicted. Okay, no one thinks it's nice to be addicted, but I mean, that's what this guy pretty much is. They think vaping makes them cool, and therefore shames others for not wanting to. In reality, pretty much every other nicotine consumer will tell you to never start doing it, and that it's much cooler to just breathe air. So, therefore, this guy is, or at least should be, hated by everyone on planet Earth. And if you ever catch a mofo pushing vape into a homie, just run up on him and slap the shit out of him. Kick him in the balls while you're at it. Or, I don't know, at least spit in his face or something. Fucking asshole. But enough of this hobgoblin, let's move on to the dude who smokes cigs. Okay, this might offend some people, but cigs are goddamn disgusting. And I'm pretty sure they're even worse for you than vaping and nicotine pouches, although don't quote me on that. This guy lives and dies by, "It's all natural, bro," and proclaims, "At least I know what's in it." Like, sorry for hanging on to hope that just maybe, I might not get cancer. Cause this dude already marked his calendar for the good old iron lung. Not much to say except for, man kinda smells, so 1 out of 10. Never touch nicotine, let alone cigs. But now it's time for the occasional addict. Okay, this one is near to my heart, cause sad to admit it, this is kinda me. This dude doesn't have his own vape or pouches or cigs or anything, but that doesn't mean he isn't addicted because he still consumes nic whenever he's offered or the opportunity arises. Speaking from experience, this guy kind of in limbo cause even though there could be weeks, even months when he doesn't touch the Elfington, but then one day he might go somewhere with the homies and do something like this. You wanna hit this? No. Okay. On second thought... So yeah, even though it's a seasonal addiction, it's still an addiction. So call yourself out every time a nicotine addiction moment happens. But time for the last one. I only consume nic when I'm stressed. So, you only hit the Puffington when you're stressed, eh? So, what qualifies as being stressed? You lose your job, you get robbed, you lose your car keys, you stub your toe, you experience a mild inconvenience of forgetting the lights on in your room, so now you have to go all the way upstairs to turn them off. So, yeah, as you can see, this one is kind of a slippery slope, cause believe me, the more you mess around with the nic, the more you're gonna be in moments like this. What? That's so... Man... Unfortunately, it's all a ruse, cause in reality, you only consume nic when you feel like it, so you're addicted, just like everybody else. And a word of advice, don't start vaping, okay? It's not good for you. Imagine you ate a bunch of mushrooms, sat down and waited for them to kick, but as you were waiting, your homie gave you some acid. You sat there a bit longer, and just before everything started coming up, you smoked a massive bowl of some couch lock exotic za, and then boom! It all hits at once. That right there is how I describe DMT to someone who's never heard of it. Because instead of gradually ramping up, DMT kicks down your mental door with a sledgehammer made of neon lights and screams. There is no build-up nor gentle come-up. 1 second you're in your room, the next you've launched through the fabric of reality like a screaming missile. You might meet entities that feel more real than your landlord, and they'll communicate in emotions, telepathy, or geometry. Then just as quickly, you're back on your couch like nothing happened, except you're sweaty, humbled, and questioning whether any of this or anything ever was real. But that's just DMT, the psychedelic equivalent of being booted out of the universe, given a cosmic PowerPoint presentation in a language your soul barely understands, and then drop back into your body with only a vague memory and a racing heartbeat. Knowing all that, you might understand why DMT has been one of the few psychedelics I've truly been scared to do. Not because I feared addiction or really any of the usual worries, but because I truly thought that I might not come back from this as the same person. But hey,
if you do it, you will talk to intelligent beings from other dimensions, for real.
Joe Rogan did it and he seems fine. So, for the sake of education and science, I will be sharing my experience with the king of psychedelics. No wavy hands here, a true out-of-body experience with cosmic figures, ghosts from my past, and an ending that truly left me questioning the reality that I saw versus the reality that I live day to day. But as a disclaimer, do not do anything in this video. It's all just a funny, entertaining, and educational stickman story and never actually even happened. I am a stickman. Anyway, it all started where I feel like these things usually start. Los Angeles, California, the city of angels and the homeless. I was staying in LA for 1 month and I was your typical tourist. Benjamin in one hand and a Starbucks coffee in the other, walking on Santa Monica and Venice Beach, observing some of the most unique and, well, weird people I've ever seen. One guy was walking around with dreadlocks down to his knees and a live parrot hanging around his shoulder. Another smacking 10 blinkers of a pen in front of the metro before going in, sitting down, opening a Nutella jar and raw dogging the whole thing with his fingers, sitting right next to me, mumbling stuff like, Nutella. Then reaching my destination to play street ball, only to be picked up by a dude who had allegedly made $200 on the boulevard that day by doing backflips for money and then spending said money on his preferred combination of highs to play basketball. Shrooms and coke. Why I'm telling you all this is because I'm trying to get you on the vibes I was on for the month I stayed in LA. Normality became warped. Is this guy trying to rob me or is he just tweaking off crack? Being in situations like that nearly every day really warped my fear detector parameters. Whereas the first week, seeing a bunch of fent fiends camped out in tents staring frightened me, on week 4 I just waved at them and smiled while ripping some Cali exotic frontal cortex destroying Zaza. But through my days of journeying around LA, I had visited many dispensaries until I found one that I grew to call home. Weeks of buying za went by, and I had built a pretty solid relationship with the owner there. I showed him my videos, and he showed me some of the famous people he's met like Snoop Dogg. Until one day, on my last week there, somehow the topic of DMT came up. He had done it before, I had not. I explained my adventures in Amsterdam, bugging off mushrooms and za, my heroic dose journey, etc., to which he replied, "You're ready." And after a few minutes of back and forth of me explaining why I'm a bit scared to try it, he ended up convincing me with 3 simple words. Sick video idea. Damn it! He's right. $7 for eggs? I need that ad revenue to survive. My quest had begun. A true legendary Itscbdbro adventure because he told me that he does not have DMT himself, but a buddy of his owns a smart shop near Venice Beach, and if you go there and say John sent you, they'll hook you up. I had been given a real-life oblivion quest on some...
You must travel to the faraway beaches of Venice, where there lives a powerful shaman. Once I find him, I must utter the code John sent me to progress the quest.
So I got on the nearest bus to Venice and started journeying there. After about 1 hour, I was dropped off and had a 7-minute walk to the DMT plug. When I arrived there, the shop was nearly empty, with only 2 stoner-looking dudes hanging around, and the clerk didn't seem too happy by my presence. But I gathered my courage, walked up and said, "Hello, do you guys sell DMT?" John sent me? And as I uttered the words of the legendary John, his face went from, "Get the f*** out of here, you fed," to, "Oh, John sent you, of course we have DMT. What you looking for, a pen or the real natural stuff?" Shit. Well, give me the natural stuff, I guess. Good choice. Here you are, and you know what? It's on the house. Just come back tomorrow and let us know how it went. Free? On the house? Tears of joy dripped down my face as I hadn't heard those words ever since I arrived in the US. Now, I was locked in. I grabbed the herb and bust myself back to my $3K a month rundown studio apartment. An absolute banger of a deal if you ask me, and got myself prepared. I firstly watched a couple videos on the first time doing DMT and found this very popular one where it was explained that you have to smoke it 3 times, but that after the first hit, you're not gonna wanna do anymore, yet you must push on if you want to get the true mystical experience. And since I knew I probably won't be doing this stuff ever again, then I decided that I just had to go all out. I packed one bowl ready and set aside 2 similarly sized doses on the table to be added in after I finished the initial bowl, and well, I got down to business. I ripped my first hit, and right after exhaling, my room started shrinking. I swear the walls started closing in on me, and it's like everything got some top tier Minecraft shaders and a texture pack. I was way screwed up, but there was also a guiding voice, very similar to the video I had just watched.
Whatever you do, don't stop. You have to keep going. You have to get that third hit.
I'm not shitting you when I say I felt like my only way to salvation was to get to the third hit. I rushed to pack the second bowl, all while I still saw the walls closing in. It was like a time trial. Okay. The world around me started violently collapsing and vibrating like there was a glitch in the Matrix and I was about to be pulled out. It was so freaking intense, honestly, there's nothing I can even compare it to. I was screwed, I was tweaking, not having a fun time. I did not want to smoke more, but then through the chaos, my subconscious was screaming, "Finish what you started!" At this point, my arms were literally melting, but not in a particularly scary way. It's hard to explain, it was more cartoonish. I struggled to load the last bowl and fought my conscious brain every step of the way there. But I got it ready, and I smoked it. I smoked the whole thing, and I was simply not there anymore. I slumped back on my couch and just fell into a void of moving colors, weird shapes, and creatures. But even though I had never seen any of this, it all felt very familiar, like I had been there before, kind of like when you have a super vivid dream that weeks later you struggle to remember if it was real or your imagination. After a bit of time, the flickering colors and shapes stopped, and I landed in my childhood room sitting in front of my monitor, and it was like all the colors and shapes were actually in this monitor, and I just zoomed out and I was sitting on my old chair staring at this screen, which was like a gateway to this colorful DMT universe. But even though I was not in the DMT portal anymore, my room was still super weird. Like everything seemed to be as I remembered it, but I had an odd feeling that something was not right. Everything seemed correct, but wrong at the same time. And then through the door to my room, in came one of my old friends, Salamander, but he was different. Like it was an alternate parallel universe version of him, and he was wearing this Matrix-style robe and just kept saying, "You are where you belong. You are where you belong." But I was like, nah, this bad trip fake-ass Salamander, so I ran towards him and tried to give him the 1-2. But as I ran at him, he disappeared, and so did the room and everything behind me, and I fell through the doorway into this endless freefall of darkness that was surrounded by computer code detailing my whole freaking life. Events that I lived through, written out in some JavaScript language, like my whole existence was just a game with preset events programmed in. Eventually I stopped free falling and was just standing there staring at all this code around me in existential dread when a calming yet ominous voice echoed from a distance, "Now that you know, can you ever go back?" And snap! Just as I flew into this void via flashing colors and weirdly familiar shapes, it pulled me back the same. I opened my eyes and I was wide awake, clear-headed as I've ever been, staring around my room in shock. Holy shit. It felt like it was over before it even started, and although I was left feeling a little bit frightened from that ominous final message, overall, I was just in shock that there exists a plant with such tremendous power in pulling out your subconscious mind and leaking it all to your conscious mind. I had a sense of mental awakening, but also like I knew something I shouldn't. Shit still freaks me out to this day. Really, the only thing I can compare it to is some ultra vivid lucid dreams I've had, and even those were more grounded in the reality we perceive day to day. DMT isn't your average psychedelic like psilocybin, which adds a layer on top of reality. DMT is its own reality, its own plane of existence, and for that reason, I probably won't be doing it again. Although I am very curious about the mysteries it presented to me, I also know from previous experience that trying to get answers to these mysteries just end up giving you more mysteries. But then again, I don't know, maybe DMT is different. Have you ever met someone who parades the fact that he loves the Zaza, and if you ever say anything bad about it, he gets all defensive and starts frantically arguing about how it's good for you? Like, yeah bro, there are health benefits, but if you're out here doing 8 rips, 4 2 edibles, and half a cart every 12 hours, do you really think you're reaping the health benefits of the Za? Mofo beyond about
It helps with my anxiety and depression.
Like, bro, what are you anxious about? Worried that the pizza delivery guy might be an assassin?
Sounds more like paranoia to me.
And have you stopped to think that maybe the depression you're feeling could be because all you does is sit around, eat pizzas, smoke grass, and watch Disney Plus? But people like this aren't the majority, and overall, when you meet a fellow grass eater, you can expect him to be just a normal chill dude who uses the za to enhance his experiences, rather than rely on it for them. So today, I thought I'd go over some of the coolest dudes I've encountered who consume that lettuce, starting with the za athlete. This is the guy who's always in the gym grinding to become the ultimate specimen of human movement. The thing that's great about this dude is that although he loves the grass, which is generally considered a lazy substance, he doesn't let that stereotype stop him from enjoying it. Although many of his athlete friends might hold it against him, calling him a crackhead, he knows that it's all about moderation and using the za to enhance his recovery and free time experiences. But the best part about a dude like this is that you know he is a solid guy that you don't have to worry about leading you down a bad road, cause he is always mindful of where the breaking point between just having a fun time with the homies and
Hey bros, wanna do some
is. So if you're friends with this guy, you can be damn sure he won't ever peer pressure you into doing something stupid. In fact, he'll probably be the one who will try to talk you out of something like that. Plus, you know, depending on the athlete, he might make the NBA, so best to stay on his good side if you ever want to blaze up in a LA mansion with Wiz Khalifa and Drake and shit. But on to the next dude on the list, the high gamer. I'm not sure how you guys feel about video games, but I've always seen the genre as the highest form of at-home entertainment there is. Although it is a lot harder to truly get into a game nowadays, when you do, the peaks of fun are much higher than watching a Netflix show, for example. Although that's just my opinion and yours might obviously be different. So you better believe it when I say I love dudes who enjoy gaming in orbit, because that's something that two za enjoyers can truly bond over. Now you might be thinking,
Everybody enjoys playing games. Ain't nothing special about it.
I'd have to respectfully disagree, because it takes a certain level of power to really sit down well blasted and focused on a video game, cause honestly, most of the time it ends up going something like this. Finally time to play some Elden Ring while blasted. This is about to be crazy fun.
20 minutes later.
Man, screw this, I'ma just watch some TikToks. As you can see, it's not that easy, but if you have a friend who's on the same planet as you and you going through the struggle together in a co-op game, it's much easier to get into. So I for one will always have a special place in my heart for dudes who can actually game while blasted, cause honestly, it's not as easy as you might think, especially if the session lasts over 1 hour. But time for the productive and successful Not gonna lie, these dudes are like a rare Pokemon that you might never come across because the requirements to be a dude like this are rather high, but the power he possesses is godly. This is the dude that has his own business or works like a sales job or something, which is a highly social and time-consuming practice. But somehow, this mofo has done all of this while frequently bugging off the Zaza. He's kinda like the Wolf of Wall Street, but instead of doing lines off a lady's you know what I mean. He's out here taking a fat rip and then minutes later closing a massive deal with some company. I met a guy like this only once, and I won't stand here and act like I was not in awe of this man's power. We were all just chilling, faded AF, when this guy got a phone call, and not just any phone call, it was some company he was trying to make a client for the company he worked for. And me being me, all I could think of was, oh shit, dude must be freaking out being that faded, having to deal with something like that. But no, bro calmly told us he'll be back in like 10 minutes, went to the other room and closed the deal, or at least that's what it seemed like. I swear, some people just have a godlike stress tolerance, cause man, I can be out here faded and get a call from my mom to pick up some groceries, and that shit will have me stressing out if it wasn't in my initial plan. I guess what I'm trying to say is, for 95% of people, if you high every day, you're gonna get lazy and content with your position in life. But there are people who can manage to pull off this lifestyle and still be successful, and god damn do I respect that. Although I'd imagine that if they weren't high all the time, they'd be even more successful. But hey, what do I know? Anyway, next guy on the list is the artsy dude. Now, this guy isn't exactly what you're thinking. And yes, I know you're imagining this painter who's always on about, bruh, you just gotta go with the flow. Let yourself be free and you'll find peace. Sorry, but What the fuck does that even mean? Although these guys can be cool, their gimmick gets old pretty quick. The dude I like is more of just a Chad who has a highly functioning imagination. Cause with a guy like this, you always have something to talk about, and they come up with some of the most interesting things. Plus, they're usually not just some hippie dude who enjoys saying shit that makes no sense and expects everybody to think he's deep cause he saw a quote on TikTok and it really resonated with him. He's more of the dude who'll say some master Oogway quote and explain how that funny meme actually says something deep about life, but then ended with, I don't actually know, I might just be too high. And I love that, cause sometimes a mofo is just too high and sees a deeper meaning in something that doesn't have one. But hey, that's just a theory, a high theory. Zaza myths. Grass cap, lettuce slice, call it what you want. Anyway, today we're going to go over the most common misconceptions about the magic green plant, which I'm willing to bet that you've fallen for at least once. Yes, you, Mr. Bro, this pack tested at 38%, so I'm basically entering another dimension. Okay, if you say so. So, how is it? Well, I'm I guess. Mouth is really dry though. It kinda tastes like dirt. Certified exotic! So, for the sake of education and science, we are going to go over every Zaza myth from funny to dumb to dangerous, so the populace may have a better understanding of the magic green plant and avoid the risks they were subject to before. Whether you're a seasoned lettuce enjoyer or a rookie roller, these myths have been floating around since the dawn of the J, and even though people are a lot more informed these days, you'd be surprised at how many people still believe that higher THC percentage equals stronger high. This is probably the most common rookie mistake in the lettuce community. People walk into dispensaries like they're buying a protein shake. And what's the strongest thing you got? 35%? Give me that! Sure, percentage does play a role in how high you get. It's kind of the main character, but the number on the jar doesn't tell the whole story. You could blaze something labeled 33% and feel absolutely nothing but dry mouth and disappointment. Meanwhile, something with 17% might have you reconsidering your life choices mid-snack. Why? Because there's more to the plant than just a number. How it was grown, how fresh it is, what it smells like, all that matters. Some packs hit because they're balanced, not because they're built like a calculator. Also, quick reality check, those percentages not always real. Growers know people chase high numbers, so they send the frostiest, most photogenic nug to the lab. They don't send the potentially dry, crusty stuff you actually get in the jar. So what you're really buying is lab-tested optimism. Think of it like this, choosing based on percentage is like choosing music based on how loud it is. Just because it's loud doesn't mean it's good. Then again, if you have a favorite song and you play it louder, it's gonna hit better, if you get what I'm saying. Usually, you want something that doesn't just blast you, you want something that actually feels right. So yeah, the number matters a little to the extent that a 6% pack is going to be mellow and anything between 15 to 25% is going to hit normal. But beyond that, it's just marketing. So don't let it trick you into thinking you're buying magic, otherwise you'll keep paying $60 for mid in a shiny bag. Which next one is something I believed in myself up until just a few months ago. Indica equals chill, equals energy. Put you in the couch, bro. Get you creative and energized. Yeah, not exactly, at least anymore. That whole equals sleepies equals Zoom thing is Zaza astrology. It sounds deep until you realize it's mostly vibes and guesswork. Back in the day, Indica and sativa meant something botanically, like plant shape and how tall it grows. But now, after decades of crossbreeding, everything is basically a smoothie. You're not smoking a pure sativa. You're smoking some hybrid mutant with 6 parents and a confusing childhood. You might get an that it makes you vacuum your room at 3 a.m. or but it has you melted into the couch watching YouTube documentaries about ants. It's not about the label, it's about how your brain reacts to whatever is actually in the flower. Also, most of these strain labels are just marketing now. The same lemon blaster you buy in LA might be a completely different plant than the lemon blaster from your guy in Detroit, but they both swear it's sativa because the bag is yellow and has lightning bolts on it. To be fair though, you do have a higher probability of getting a chiller vibe with indica and more of an active vibe with sativa, just that it's not always the case, and a lot of times an indica strain can make you just as productive as with sativa. A lot of it is also just in your head. Like, if you're a daily smoker and smoke sativa during the day and indica at night, you're gonna feel like you're more productive with sativa because every time you use it, you actually plan on doing stuff, compared to indica where you plan on, well, just hanging around. But this next one might be the most dangerous misconception out of them all, and that is, you can't overdose on grass. Ah yes, the ultimate stoner defense mechanism. You can't overdose on za, bro. It's impossible. It's natural. Chill out. Technically, yeah, you're not gonna flatline from lettuce. There's no grass version of the he took too many and never woke up story. But let's not pretend you can't go way past the point of good vibes into I'm dying, call my mom territory. You can green out, you can white out, you can throw up, panic, forget your name, think you're in a dream, and try to call 911 on yourself using a TV remote. But sure, not an overdose, just a deeply humbling spiritual reset. It usually goes like this. You take an edible and it's not hitting, so you take more. Then about 45 minutes later, your soul leaves your body and watches you pet your wall for emotional support. Congratulations, you're not dead, but you are definitely not okay. So no, you won't overdose in the technical sense, but if your definition of overdose includes uncontrollable sweating, time dilation, thinking you're stuck in a loop, and trying to breathe manually, then yes, you very much can overdose on za. Especially with long-term heavy use, which can cause psychosis. So just because it's a plant and there's that famous fact of like, oh, you need to smoke 200 pounds of za to overdose, doesn't mean you shouldn't be mindful of your consumption, which kind of takes us to grass makes you lazy. My teacher once told me, boy, you smoke too much of that lettuce, you'll never do anything with your life. Meanwhile, there are programmers, artists, chefs, and athletes out here doing their taxes while baked off their mind on something called
purple monkey dirt nugs.
Let's be clear, za doesn't make you lazy, you make you lazy. Grass just lowers the volume on your internal monologue enough for you to enjoy doing nothing. If you were already a couch potato before, sure, lettuce might just butter you up and serve you to the couch gods. But some people take a hit and immediately get the sudden urge to deep clean their bathroom or organize their sock drawer by emotional trauma. The truth is, how you react depends on your brain, your tolerance, and whether you just hit something calming or smoked a strain called Nightmare Jetpack. Also, not all laziness is bad. Sometimes the reason people seem lazy after smoking is because their brain finally isn't on fire and they're just chilling for the first time in days. That's not laziness. That's peace, baby. So no, za doesn't make you lazy. Being a human in late-stage capitalism does. Grass might just make it more comfortable to stop pretending you're okay with it. It's just a plant, so it's always safe. This one's popular with people who think putting a leaf emoji next to anything instantly makes it healthy. Bro, it's natural. It's from the earth. You can't get hurt by something nature made. Okay, cool. So are poison ivy, nightshade, and grizzly bears. Nature doesn't care about your vibes. Nature is not your plug. Yes, lettuce is a plant. So is hemlock, so is ayahuasca. That doesn't mean you should roll it up and smoke it every morning like it's a spiritual multivitamin. Natural doesn't mean harmless. It just means it didn't come from a lab this time. Now, for most people, grass is relatively safe, but let's not pretend it's some invincible superfood. You can still develop tolerance, mess up your sleep, get dependent on it to function, have a panic attack mid-cartoon, or blast off into a full psychotic break if you overdo it for too long. And let's be honest, most people aren't smoking pure organic, forest-grown artisanal flower. They're ripping mystery carts from some guy called Seke with a shoebox business model. Even flour itself isn't always clean. It can have mold, pesticides, or be so dry it turns to dust if you breathe on it wrong. So yeah, it's a plant, but that doesn't make it invincible, perfect, or immune to consequences. You could take a salad and turn it into a problem if you tried hard enough. Bottom line, lettuce can be chill, but like anything else, too much of it too often with no self-awareness equals problems. And saying it's natural won't help you when you're halfway through a green out wondering if your dog is judging you. Oof, grass, the devil's lettuce. It goes by many names. But today we're going to dive deep into the evolution of people who choose to indulge. People who open up their CB1 receptors and let the green goblin gas take over. From a potential puffer's first time all the way up to the dreaded status of Benjamin Zombie. Told the doctor I'm a healthy kid, I smoke broccoli. Now, that line definitely isn't medical advice. Sure, medical cannabis exists, but smoking anything isn't great for your lungs. And let's be honest, Kodak Black probably isn't sparking up to treat back pain or ADHD. Anyway, let's break down the evolution of a smoker in a scientific and educational way, from that first potentially hitting a pendulum 24/7 and why you really don't want it to get that far. We'll also look at the tipping point when weed shifts from a controlled though unhealthy little vice to a full-blown mental addiction. Plus, we'll ask how much can weed be a part of your lifestyle without becoming destructive. Kind of like alcohol. Sure, it can be harmful, but if you're just having a few drinks once a week, who am I to judge? Everyone's journey is different, but there's one thing we all share: the first time. Every master starts here. Whether it was a planned, yo, let's try weed moment with your best friend, or a casual, why not? The first smoke sets the tone for your evolution. That first experience matters. Some people try it once, geek out way too hard, and never touch it again. Others feel nothing and keep experimenting until it hits, and some enjoy the buzz right away and decide they want more. For me, at first nothing, then a couple more puffs and I was super high for like 30 seconds, then back to normal. Everyone's different, but if you had a positive first experience, odds are you'll climb higher on the evolution ladder, which brings us to the casual smoker. Here's the first real step. You're smoking knowingly now, maybe on weekends at a party or chilling in your buddy Steve's man cave. You're not sure why exactly. Maybe it's because weed chills you out without the hangover of alcohol, or because it makes the world feel just a little more magical. At this point, weed isn't routine. You don't have your own stash, you treat it like an event. And the best part, you remember every high. 5 hours of Smash Bros and a family-sized pizza? Legendary. Wandering the suburbs baked? Iconic. Honestly, this stage is the sweet spot. Casual smoking is usually less harmful than drinking every weekend. Plus, it makes it so that almost every high is a memorable night. But chances are, eventually you'll evolve into the routine toker. Now, you're smoking more regularly. Not just with friends, but at the end of the day. You light up before a walk, chores, or just relaxing. You know it's bad for your lungs and that it makes you lazy, but in your mind, the juice is worth the squeeze. By now, you're learning the basics. Strains, THC percentages, different methods. Maybe you've got some papers in a tray. You know a bowl hits harder and faster for those stare at the wall eating ramen nights, while a joint gives you a smoother, longer high for a walk around the park. At this stage, the high starts to feel less like a novelty and more like a tool. You can use it for deep convos, crazy observations, or even philosophy hour with your buddies. Where once you were just giggling at Shrek and demolishing Ben & Jerry's, now you might be debating the political and economic state of the world. Jaden Smith would be proud. You're not quite rocking a tinfoil hat ranting about Mark Zuckerberg being a reptile, but you wouldn't be mad if someone else brought it up, which means you're creeping towards the casual stoner. This is where the mindset really shifts. You're no longer just an evening toker, sometimes you're sparking up during the day too. It's becoming part of your everyday life. At this point, you've probably Googled weed's medical benefits. You've read that it might help with anxiety, ADHD, or stress, and suddenly you're asking yourself, am I smoking because I like it or because I need it? Maybe you've always been more prone to enjoying it. Maybe it's your way of easing anxiety. You don't know for sure, but one day you're packing your 5th bowl in 2 hours and your homie looks at you like,
Yo bro, maybe you should cool it on the za.
this is a pivotal moment. Your response determines everything. Do you laugh it off and actually cool it? Or do you lean back, exhale, and drop the undefeated line, bro, it's low-key medical. If you pick the second answer, congratulations. You're on the fast track to the next stage, the daily stoner. This is the stage where things flip. Back in the casual stoner days, you smoked during the day occasionally. Now it's the other way around. You occasionally don't. Wake and bakes have become a sacred ritual. You roll out of bed with all the weight of life on your shoulders, school, your job, your investment account, and instead of tackling them sober, you think, yeah, I'll deal with all this, but I'll do it high. Alright, let's see. Investment account, I'll check the stocks tomorrow. Job? Shit, I'll just call in sick. School? Well, I'd open my laptop, but the battery's dead. Guess I'll charge it while I go play Borderlands 4. Wow, what a productive morning. Got everything done in 3 minutes. That's the illusion of the daily stoner. You convince yourself, yeah, I wake and bake, but I still get stuff done. And technically you're not wrong, you do get things done, but weed warps your definition of productive. Something that would have taken you 15 minutes sober now takes an hour, and by the end of it, you feel like you just worked a 12-hour shift. Progress is still happening, just at a snail's pace. The bigger issue, your tolerance is climbing to skyscraper levels, because, well, you don't always aim to get a obliterated during the day, you still blow yourself to orbit at night. Combine that with a dulled work ethic and suddenly you're spending record high amounts of money on weed while earning less, because let's face it, you're prioritizing a chill lifestyle over hustle. And if you keep leaning into that chill side, sliding further and further down, you'll wake up one day and realize you've officially crossed into full-blown stoner. Water versus which one's more important? The obvious answer is water, but the fact that you hesitated, even for a millisecond, and thought, wait, no weed? Yeah, that's the sign. You've officially evolved into the full-blown stoner. This is where my own experience starts to taper off, because I never made it this far myself, but from what I've seen, the difference between a daily stoner and a full-blown stoner is subtle, yet massive. The daily stoner still believes they're enhancing life with weed, using it to make something boring bearable or something fun even better. At this stage though, that illusion is gone. Here, being high is the baseline, the normal state. No more, oh shit, I'm too high moments. No more novelty, no more magic. What used to feel like a rocket launch now just feels like existing. And while that might sound chill, it comes with a heavy trade-off. The wonder of the za has faded, the excitement that made it special is gone, and in its place is a quiet dependency. Weed stops being a semi-unhealthy vice you choose and becomes the silent addiction you can't imagine life without. This right here is the turning point. Some people never get past it. Some people catch themselves and scale back, but if you don't, there's one final grim stage of evolution waiting ahead, and it's a place you really don't want to end up.
The Benjamin Zombie.
Wake up, Benjamin. Eat breakfast, Benjamin. Clock in at school or work, Benjamin. Light up again, Benjamin. Repeat! Life becomes a loop, a hazy carousel that never stops spinning. The world feels like it's moving in slow motion, like you're stuck on a never-ending train ride with foggy windows, and the destination, nowhere good. Usually a one-way track toward burnout, paranoia, or full-blown psychosis if you don't slam the brakes, brah. By this stage, there's no wonder in weed anymore. No spark, no giggles, no creativity. Honestly, you don't even like it anymore. It's not fun, it's just what you do, like brushing your teeth or scrolling your phone. It's become automatic, a reflex. You smoke not to elevate, but to avoid the emptiness of sobriety. And that's the saddest part. The plant that once made music sound richer, food taste better, and sunsets glow brighter has been stripped of all its charm. Now it's just fuel for a fading engine. You're not living with weed anymore, you're surviving through it. At this point, you're not a stoner, not even a daily stoner. You've devolved into the Benjamin Zombie, permanently hazed, always chasing the next puff, yet never really getting anywhere. But hey, you can always just cool it off the za and get back to where it was fun again, like being a casual. Moderation is key, remember that.
If you've ever bought from a plug, you probably know about that teeny tiny voice in your head that goes, "What if it's laced, bro?" And although 99% of the time, that's just you being paranoid, the other 1%, it might be warranted. Which brings me to the time I was dead certain the grass I bought was laced. But you know, I still smoked it. The day started like any other. I woke up, ate my Captain Crunch, worked out, made some videos, and now after a productive day, was looking for some za to smoke up and watch some Elon Musk vs Zuckerberg fight breakdown videos. Personally, I got the Reptile King on this one. Anyway, the bad news was, I was out of grass. And even worse, the plug I usually buy from wasn't answering, so I had to get creative. First, I tried to scrounge up a hit from smacking the shit out of my grinders and using a card to move it together like I was about to do a line in the back of the nightclub. But alas, after all my effort, I was left with only a smidgen of a hit that was 50% dust and dirt. So although I really didn't want to do it, I knew I had to start asking around for a new plug. And so I did. And after about 30 minutes, I was given the Snapchat of a seemingly high-level devious criminal. And I concluded that by his Snapchat username, which was free straight money emojis. And I'm guessing he chose this name just so everyone knew. I am a drug dealer and I make a lot of money. I shot him a message reading, "Yo, can I get one?" hoping that he would respond, unlike all my other plugs. And just a few minutes later, I was blessed by a message reading, "Yeah, nice." All I needed to do now was ask when and where, which he responded swiftly with an address that was very close. So I hopped in my Urus. Sorry, I have a Lamborghini Urus. Yes, this is a fact. Spread the word, guys. And pulled up on the spot where I was expecting to greet a killer tattoo. Nah, actually, I'm too experienced now. I knew it was gonna be some high school kid. They're the ones who always use emojis for their plug Snapchats. And it was exactly what I thought. A scrawny looking kid with glasses pulled up, dropped the bag in my car, and dipped. Well, I also gave him the money, but nothing really different or alarming had happened during this altercation. As I was driving back home though, I took a quick little sniffington from the bag and well, that shit was smelling a bit sus. I can't quite describe the smell cause it did stank like good za. There was just a certain chemically fragrance to it as well, but regardless, I brought that za home and before I smoked, I did a bit of googling.
How to know if your grass is laced? You can tell if your bud is laced by putting it in water and seeing if anything melts out of it.
Bruh, ain't no way I'm putting this grass in some goddamn water. Ah, fuck, it seems good to me. So yeah, I didn't really practice a lot of precaution. I mean, worst case scenario, I accidentally smoked crack. But anyway, I loaded up the hit and took a smack dabbly do off that thing. And at first, I couldn't really tell nothing was wrong. I mean, I was on the couch feeling like a medium rare filet mignon, but that's just being bait. Until I suddenly started getting real paranoid for no reason. Like, not paranoid in what if it was laced, but paranoid in... Hey, what the fuck was that? Hello? I'll have you know I'm a certified demon hunting boxing champion, bruh. I'll knock your nun ass out in an instant. Oh, hell nah. And yeah, you saw correctly. This Za got a grown-ass 6'6" athletic specimen of a man to go under his blanket cause he thought he heard a monster, bruh. And I swear, for the entirety of the night, I was low-key hearing things like I was an inmate in Arkham Asylum or something. So, safe to say the whole mellow me out part was negated by the paranoid demon fearing. At some point though, I got a serious case of the munchies, and I knew I had to leave my safe zone, aka my blanky wanky, and go downstairs to raid the fridge. And so I did, but this fucking dimensional rift grass got me bugging out, bro. I was feeling like I was 7 years old again, afraid of the boogeyman coming to take me away. Thankfully, I was able to tweak my way to 2 hood dogs and a couple sugar sandwiches. Recipes I developed myself. Watch the video in the top corner if you want to know more. But once I got the food on my plate, I ran back upstairs being real careful not to stay in the darkness for too long. Basically, I was this old Vine video. Worst part was though that this so-called laced grass didn't let me sleep either. Like literally, I almost pulled an all-nighter looking like Golem up in my room. Until at 7 AM, I did finally somehow hit the hay. Anyway, this is the only time I ever actually believed grass to be laced, cause it just seems unprofitable to actually do that shit, but I'm still not sure. It might have just been some mighty paranoid demon grass. I guess we'll never know, cause the experience was awful enough for me to flush that shit down the toilet. RIP 0.8 G's, bruh. And obviously, I removed that new plug from my friends list, cause I'm not trying to be the victim of our town's first supervillain, cause if that shit was indeed laced, no way I'm about to go buy some Joker gas from Dollar Store Heath Ledger again. So yesterday I was packing myself a big ol' hit as per usual and thought to myself, man, I'm really hitting this out from this wacky silicone machine crafted laboratory grade piece. Like, what happened to the apple BONG, the can BONG, the good old spliff? And so today I'm coming at you with the 5 levels of smoking grass and how your equipment to do so evolves, along with your mindset and shit. Starting with level 1, the noob. This is the level where you still think the Za is some type of magical space unicorn shit, cause well, you've never done it, but your friends say it's crazy. So one day, you and the boys hear of a dude called Dragon selling grass in the school bathroom, so you band your money together and go acquire the grass. Once obtained and a safe area found, your friends are like, how are we gonna smoke this? Which, depending on where you're at, you're gonna end up either with a crappily handcrafted spliff or an aluminium can with holes in it. Whichever one you choose, you're gonna get faded in a hoe that night and either fly with the happy space unicorns or get tortured by thoughts like, I hope my mom doesn't call me right now. Is this ever gonna wear off? Was 9/11 an inside job? And if your first experience was the latter, then you probably didn't advance to the next level, at least for a while. But if you had a fun old time and continue to smoke up with your buddies, at some point you'll find yourself at level 2. Why does she always make my throat burn? After a while of smoking the Za from spliffs or from some shitty Mountain Dew can, you finally think to yourself, maybe I should invest in something that makes it so my throat doesn't want to eat itself inside out every time I take a hit. So you go online and buy the cheapest BONG you can find. Excited to use your new acquired technology, you invite your friends over and get faded in a hole yet again. But it's different this time. Because the BONG doesn't destroy your throat as much, you can actually kinda take consecutive hits. So being the genius you are, you do that and ascend into Yodi Land for the first time. After the ascension, you begin to wonder though, how high can a mortal man truly be? Which the answers to those questions are still a ways away, but after a quick Google search of how to get more high, you discover something called the Gravity BONG, and soon after go into Level 3, the Zaza Man. Eager to try out your newfound powers of gravity control, you yet again invite your friends over and take a smack dabbly do off that thing. Which what follows is actually not as crazy as before, cause even though you all did get faded in a hoe, you also got sleepier than a hoe and got knocked out on the couch pretty fast. So you vow that the next time you use the powers of gravity, you'll drink an energy drink or something so you won't fall asleep like a baby. Even though it is pretty nice sleeping like a baby. Anyway, at this point, your friends are probably like, yeah, nah, that's a bit much. But because you're a crusader and haven't yet learned the lesson of moderation, you still want to get even more faded. So back to Google, and now you find yourself basically with two options, edibles or dabs. But because this is the 5 levels of smoking grass, let's just say you chose the dab pen. And shortly after, you move to level 4. The Fortnite cart. After the obtaining of the Benjamin, you test it out with your friends and you get faded in a hoe yet again. But the reality is your friends just want to smoke normal za cause the Benjamin kicks too hard for them. But you still haven't learned moderation, so you call them wackos and waddle your way to Benjamin City alone. While at Benjamin City, you're like, more high, must get more high. And there's only one more item to fill your never-ending quench for tolerance destruction, and that is level 5. Bro, what the fuck? You got a damn science station here with dab rigs? They're, well, unnecessary is a way to put it. I mean, bro, you know she has gone too far when you gotta look at the instructions on how to get high. Plus, your friends don't even really want to try it out anymore and urge you to go on a tea break, which after realizing that all your money has been going to your need to get higher and higher, you're kind of forced into one, which after, hopefully you'll move on to final level. Ascend it. Finally, you realize smoking za isn't just about getting as high as possible, because every situation has its own limits of fadedness. So if you're just going out on a night out with your homies, best thing to do is to smoke a spliff. If you don't want to get faded in a hoe though at home, do the gravity, and so on. The true power you have over all the other levels though is you've already gone through all of them, knowing that you can manage your tolerance correctly and smoke up with the appropriate tools for the appropriate situations. Do you remember your first time smoking the Zaza? I bet you used either some type of makeshift Mountain Dew can where you inhaled more green paint than anything, or you rolled yourself an abomination of a spliff where half the stuff got stuck in the filter whilst you were standing there sucking on it like... Bro, why this shit ain't working? Bro, of course it ain't working. Look at the damn crutch. You were supposed to roll a filter, not a leak-proof titanium pipe. Fool. Yet, the more you blaze, the better your tools and skills to do so improve. But everybody starts off at level 1. First timer. This is the level where you'll be holding your butts like Elon Musk. Only you're not Elon Musk and your homies will clown the hell out of you for holding the split like it was a diamond or something. Also, at this point, your understanding of rolling blunts is that you put the stuff in the middle and just kind of roll it up like a cone. It doesn't actually work like that. And if you were to hit any type of can or makeshift bong, even after the slightest inhale, you'll be on the floor coughing your lungs out of your throat like... So I just inhaled from this opening? Yeah, man. You bastard, you licked it, didn't you? But no worries, after a while of being clowned on, you'll eventually learn enough to get to level 2. Yeah bro, I can roll it no problem. Even though you're still only a beginner, this is where your confidence is at its highest, cause you've rolled a couple splits and instead of them being completely unusable, the homies usually are like, okay whatever, it'll do. This is also the stage where you'll probably green out for the first time, cause you overestimate your tolerance a lot. Thinking that just cause you've blazed up 3 times in the past 30 days, you're ready to go over to the homie's house and start hitting something called the gravity bug? Whatever though, how much higher can you even get, right? Also, at this stage you just might have a makeshift aluminium can pipe thing at your place, but buying an actual bug
is out of the question, cause you'd rather cough till you're on the floor in tears than pay 20 bucks for something that isn't even necessary. Well, wait a month or so and you'll be on level 3. Schmack the diddly do. At this point, you've decided that the negative health implications of inhaling paint and plastic into your lungs is worth fixing with $23. And now that you have your own piece, your tolerance has gotten to the point where you can handle gravity sessions pretty well. There's really not much to say at this level, except you're the average smoker who can roll a quality spliff in a couple minutes, and you usually never ruin the group's vibe because you got too high. Well, that's until you get to level 4. What's a dab, bro? You've mastered the powers of a gravity bomb, but one day your friend invites you over to his place, thinking it's gonna be an average day of blazing and playing Warzone. But then he pulls out something that looks a lot like a vape, only it's not a vape, it's the key to the other side. You hit the Benjamin for the first time, and you find yourself completely obliterated. So much so that you think to yourself, never again will I hit the Benjamin, for the power is too much for a mere mortal to handle. Until you realize that normal butt just don't get you as high as you would want to get. So you get your own dab pen, and eventually you'll be on level 5, the double Benjamin. Now at this point, you've thrown your bong in a box somewhere and you use something that looks straight out of a Rick and Morty episode, a dab station. But to be honest, you're starting to miss the good old days of getting faded by just sharing a spliff with the homies. Cause at this point, unless you're hitting ridiculous blinkers with the double Benjamin, man, you barely feel high. So you decide it's time to take a tolerance break and ascend into level 6. Avatar, the master of all 4 elements. You've realized that chasing the next knockout high isn't really what blazing is about, and you now just smoke up at appropriate times with the appropriate tools. So if you're just trying to chill and play video games, you might just hit a quick rip from the bong. Or if you're going to the store, you'd roll a nice spliff. And if you're going to, let's say, an amusement park with your friends, well, that's when you might consider busting out the double Benjamin and getting faded than a hoe. Blinkers. The 5 levels of being high. Now, I bet you've seen a couple videos on this topic, maybe even mine, but since almost a year has passed and my knowledge and understanding of the magic green plant has grown tremendously, I thought it's about time to make the ultimate, definitive, most precise levels of high tier list on planet Earth. And to make it even more fun, for every level, I'ma be getting more high to give an accurate representation of what the level feels and sounds like. So let's get it started with level 1. Microdosed. This is the level where you don't really feel anything per se, but you can tell something is different. You have a slight mood boost and your body might feel a bit more elevated. So like if your legs were sore, they're probably even more sore now, but if you're lying on your bed, well, its comfortability is probably up about by 10 to 15%. Nothing crazy, but it is noticeable. This, however, isn't enough to give you the giggles. So that Amy Schumer comedy special will still leave you wondering if my vagina is actually comedy or just poorly done slapstick humor. And since I'm currently at this level, I can tell you it also has no negative side effects, so I can still do everything without worrying if I'm too high. Anyway, let's move on to the first exciting level, and that is level 2. I'm feeling it. So you're feeling it, eh? Well, me too. This is the level where that Amy Schumer special might actually forcefully steal a giggle or two from you, but not because it's actually funny, it's more like you're laughing at her rather than with her. Anyway, since you're now feeling it, you also might be feeling that movie a bit more, or that video game. Shit, you might be feeling your own jokes a bit more. Got you laughing at your own thoughts, fool. This is also the optimal high if you still got stuff to do. Well, to be honest, if you got stuff to do, probably better to not be high, but at this level, it's still definitely doable, just a bit more difficult. Another way to look at it is, this is the high the workers at Subway are usually on, although I have seen mofos way beyond this there too, but for the most part, this is optimal cause the loud hasn't got you moving slow-mo quite yet. As for me, I'm still able to read this script and pronounce my words just fine, so you probably can't even tell I'm high right now. But now it's time to get to the first level where a mofo can feel too high if he's not experienced. Level 3. Yeah, I'm pretty high. So here we are.
pretty high. This is the point where, at least for me, doing anything besides leisurely activities is hard. Not impossible, nor undoable, but hard. If we take that Amy Schumer comedy special for reference again, as for some reason I like doing, it might just maybe have become funny, but you also realize you just high, so you turn it off and watch something else. Also, this is the first level where some thoughts might have become uncontrollable in the senses you just can't help but dive deeper into the fact that the bomb dropped on Hiroshima was almost 1,600 times less powerful than the Tsar bomb created and detonated by the Soviets in 1961 as a show of power to the US. But then you find out there's something called an antimatter bomb which could be even more destructive, but it's only a theory, but then maybe the US is developing it in Area 51 or something. Yeah, I think you get the point. But there is one sensation that is more powerful than your random thoughts, and that of course is the munchies. Coupled with the fact you're probably rocking some dry mouth right now, this in my opinion is the best level to be at if you're trying to stuff your face with enough trans fats to feed 50 hungry children. But you know, you already ate it also. Anyway, moving on to level 4. Faded beyond belief. This is the point where if you're not in a safe space, you kinda screwed. Well, not always, but at this level, it's become almost impossible to practice rational thinking. I mean, if you were diving deeper into that nuclear bomb stuff at the previous level, then this is a point where you might start actually believing you are Oppenheimer himself. This stage is really not the best if you're looking to focus on a movie or video game or really anything because, well, your attention span is at the mercy of the Za, and to actually enjoy this high, you just gotta go with the flow. As for me, it's getting pretty hard to read the script. If I look at the words for long enough, they kinda look like some ancient Chinese hieroglyphs. But anyway, if you're an actual lunatic, maniac, psychopath, Zaza destroyer, and considering hitting that gravity one more time, then be prepared for level 5. Shadow Realm. I told you, bro, you gotta be a maniac to get to this level because the plane of existence you on now is so different from being non-high, you probably feeling and looking like a goddamn alien. I mean, bro, your eyes are so red and you feel so disconnected from your body that if you look in the mirror, you'll probably think, bro, is that really me? I'm so fucked up. Wait. Ah, shit, I'm in the Shadow Realm again, aren't I? And now that you realize you're in the Shadow Realm, you either stop the trip by going to sleep or level unknown, exploring the Shadow Realm. This level doesn't require smoking more. All it really requires you to do is just go outside and explore the world that in many ways has become the upside down from Stranger Things. Cause at this level, rational thinking has been completely thrown out the window and your brain has reverted to factory settings as of when you were just born. So if you see a streetlight flickering, for example, if you were normal, you just think, they really should fix that. Compared to now, oh shit, bro, this is totally one of those slasher scenes where once I walk over the streetlight, he's gonna shift me up, isn't he? Nah, man, fuck this, I'm out of here. At least, I don't know, that's how it feels to me when I achieve the pinnacle of high and am wandering the world outside. Getting high at any family event is always a risky mission, especially if you're still in the teen phase where everybody sees you as the kid that needs to be taught life lessons. Even though, how is it fair that Uncle Ronnie can down a liter of vodka and start saying the most out-of-pocket stuff, like he was Kanye West or something, and for some reason, nobody seems to care. But if I so much as speak 0.5 seconds before Uncle Ronnie finishes his rant about why drinking beer is actually healthier than water, then I'm looked at as the one with behavioral problems. So you can imagine that if my family found out that there hasn't been a single gathering where I haven't been at least a little high, they'd probably have me sent to rehab. But even though Uncle Ronnie might be a tiny bit racist and sexist, he's also funny as fuck. And no way am I going to the only comedy show where there's also an unholy amount of munch and not getting high. Well, that's at least what my mindset was until a couple years back when, as usual, the whole family tree gathered at Grandma's place for the yearly Christmas dinner. So as we do, me and my brother hit up the local plug the night before and scrounged our money together to buy the Holy Gram. And our plan was to ration the gram in a way that we can stay blazed for the whole day. But what we did not take into account was this was no ordinary ganja. It was that exotic Cali moon rock.
So here we are, everybody's packed all their things and we're about to jump in the car and drive to the ranch. But before we pull up, we gotta get high. And thankfully, we had already rolled an extraordinarily perfect spliff. With the spliff in pocket, we told our parents that we're gonna take a quick walk. And oh boy, like I said before, one thing we did not take into account was the potency of this Zaza. Cause about halfway through, I was feeling like a well done smoked ribeye steak. So I told my brother,
Hey man, I don't know if we should smoke more. I'm like really faded already.
and he was like,
Yeah, I feel you. But what other choice do we got? No way in hell am I wasting even a microgram of this exotic moon rock. And I can't put it in my pocket cause the whole car will stink of grass. And you know we're gonna be exiled if they find out we high.
Yeah, true. Shit. Guess we gotta finish it.
Don't worry though, it's pretty early. I doubt that anybody's there yet. Plus, we can just go upstairs.
Aight, facts, just gotta survive the car ride. So we go back to the crib and hop in the car, and we instantly got that "smells weird in here" from our mom, but thankfully that's where it ended, at least for now. We arrive at grandma's house, and in the 15-minute drive there, the za had fully melted into our systems. Also, because this was a while back, we were not the zagas we are now, so we were really banking on there being no one there, cause even though we can go upstairs, we can't just walk in like,
Hey guys, Merry Christmas!
yeah, Merry Christmas. And of course, in the spirit of giving, fate had given us a big and juicy fuck you. Cause when we arrived and opened the front door, we were greeted by every cousin there existed. Place was looking like a McDonald's on a Friday night, cause I swear, half of my cousins I had never seen in my life. We tried to quickly go upstairs into the safe zone, but before we could, we heard, Hey, where you going? Come downstairs. So now our plan A was spoiled, and we knew that this was gonna be one tough mission, cause well, as we know, it is a tradition in every family to roast the hell out of the younger generation. First thing that was said as soon as we sat down was directed at my brother.
So where's the little girlfriend you came with last Christmas?
Yeah, we broke up.
Huh! Well, of course you did. You ugly as fuck, boy! Why you laughing, son? You're even worse. Looking like Peppa the Pig.
The adults alternated between talking about their political views and roasting us, so it was quite a roller coaster ride. One moment they're arguing if Joe Biden is conspiring with China, and next they're telling us how we have it so good, and how back in their day they had to work 12 hours a day at a coal mine for 30 cents an hour, and that we need to grow up and enter the real world. Anyway, after about 2 hours of munching and getting roasted, we decided to go for another walk. So first we went upstairs and rolled another impeccable spliff. As we were about to go out the front door, we were greeted by Uncle Ronnie, but me being faded and well, just stupid too I guess, I was holding the spliff in my hand like a present, out there for everybody to see. And Uncle Ronnie, being the drunk and outgoing party man he is, was quick to comment,
Is that a joint?
And in my head, I thought we're screwed. He'll never live this down. He's gonna tell everyone, and on top of everybody roasting us about getting zero hoes, they're also gonna roast us for being drug addicts.
Finally, you guys grew some balls. Have fun with that.
After that, we were like, damn! Didn't know he was chill like that. And went outside to smoke the spliff. As we were puffing on the za, we were informed via text message of a local Christmas party going on at Ricky's house. So as you do while bugging off the moon rock, we ordered a Uber without telling anyone at the Christmas function we're leaving. And the reason for that is, well, that Kush had some otherworldly abilities, cause it got us so suited we completely forgot we were supposed to stay overnight at Grandma's place. And that fact did come to bite us later. But for now, the Uber arrived, so we hopped in and started driving to Ricky's place. Where even though we didn't know it at the time, the craziest Christmas party in the history of Christmas parties was being thrown. Smoking alone. It's a lot different than smoking with a group because, well, you're alone, so it's exclusively your job to explore those high thoughts and piece together fun activities to enjoy the high. And if all goes well, you'll have a blast, scrolling shorts, playing games, watching movies, pondering the scale of the universe and how nothing actually matters. It's great!
But it comes with a catch. You see, when you're with a group of friends, it's much easier to stay on subject and destroy the evil thoughts the grass might curse you with. So, in my experience, when I'm getting high alone, I usually smoke a bit less just cause being super mega high is 99% of the time best enjoyed with a group and not by yourself. Unfortunately, when I was a youngster, I hadn't discovered this. In fact, I accidentally got the highest I'd ever been up until that point. And the demons I faced that night made me who I am today. The story begins with a high schooler CBD bro who had planned a great adventure with the main homie Salamander and Ricky. Well, not a great adventure per se. We were gonna go to Salamander's place on Friday night and get absolutely obliterated off that Zaza. And for that, I had secured a whole gram of that exotic the Friday before. And although very tough, I fought the urge to blaze for a whole week just so we could demolish it all together in one night. And if you watch some of my older videos, you know Salamander had a bit of a funky home situation, so a lot of times his house was completely free, and this was supposed to be the case on this beautiful night as well. So you know your boy was excited as an 8-year-old on Christmas for this upcoming Friday night high extravaganza. But it all came crashing down when Salamander texted me, "Hey yo, my parents came home tonight and well, they found my bong, so I'm basically in the gulag now. So no smoke sesh tonight, nor probably the next night, nor, well, until they leave again. See you once I serve my time. LOL." A true tragedy. Our plans have been foiled by none other than Salamander's stinky old bong. But I think you guys can see where this story is going. I had a whole gram of that fine exotic grass, and I've been holding myself back for a whole week in anticipation for the now cancelled high extravaganza. So here I was, standing in my shitty little dorm, filled with sorrow. I decided, screw it, I'm gonna just smoke alone. So I put my level 99 J-rolling skills to use, and after about 15 minutes of fumbling the spliff, I had done it. I rolled a J that was intended for free people, and headed outside to smoke it all by myself. After heading out, I went to my favorite park bench that was just outside the dormitory territory and started chipping away at the abomination I created. 1 puff, 2 puffs, 3 puffs. I was faded than a hoe, but nowhere near the fadedness I had been waiting for. I continued puffing away until I reached the halfway point and my mouth became drier than the Sahara Desert, bro. So I took a little break to try to figure out how high I truly was. As I stared into nothingness for a good minute, I felt my first person camera slowly pull away into third person, like I was in GTA 5 or something. And I have no shame in saying I didn't smoke the whole thing, cause I was starting to get a bit paranoid, so I took my half-smoked 1G spliff and headed back to my dorm. And bro, you know those creepy pictures that are creepy because they look familiar, like it's just a normal pic, but then you really look at them and realize they ain't normal? Yeah, well, that's how I felt when I walked through the hallway leading to my room. But anyway, once I got to my room, I was still feeling paranoid. Like, it was weird cause I had never felt that way before from Za, and I think that's just cause when you get high with others, you're kinda comforted by the fact that you're not alone in the feeling of being absolutely smacked out of your mind. Thankfully, I did find some comfort in my favorite platform, YouTube. So I started watching some good vibey videos and slowly snapped out of my paranoid state, but was instantly greeted with a new problem. An uncontrollable sensation that if not satisfied will drive you right back to where you started. I'm talking of course about the munchies. So I gathered my strength and started walking to the closest store, and once I arrived, well, I ain't even gonna lie, my wallet was at the mercy of the Itscbdbro. So basically every food item I saw, my brain went, "Bro, see those Twinkies? That shit looks bussin'." Yeah, I know, but it's $4 and I already got like $25 worth of stuff in my car.
Nah, bruh. Screw all that. You buy this fucking bag of Twinkies or I'm giving you a panic attack right here, right now, bro.
Okay, I'll buy the Twinkies.
Yeah, of course you will. Well, while you're at it, take that cheese sauce for the nachos too.
Okay.
Okay, I will.
After my brain finished ganking the shit out of my wallet, I went back to my room and started demolishing everything I bought. And after that whole munch sesh, I was feeling a lot less high too, but also my stomach was a bit upset, so I took a massive dump, laid down on my bed, and started scrolling shorts. And I scrolled and scrolled until I passed out without even brushing my teeth and still in my clothes. So you can imagine the next day I had a bit of a kush hangover, feeling like Shrek, haziness, and overall being slower mentally, but hey, no regrets, cause my brain wasn't lying about those Twinkies, goddamn. I don't know about you guys, but I can be kind of a straight to the point, don't care how you feel type of guy. But for some reason, when I'm faded, that low-key changes. Like, the za seems to make me care more about others and how they feel. Don't get me wrong though, I'm not out here going out of my way to help some grandma cross the street and then run into the nearest blood donation bank where after donating my blood, I volunteer myself at the soup kitchen. It's more like if I wasn't high and was waiting in traffic and an old lady was crossing the street, I think, oh my god, you chose the perfect time to cross the street, didn't you? Now I have to sit here like an idiot. I got to do, woman. Move! Compared to if I was theoretically high. Look at that grandma crossing the street. I wonder where she's going. Probably to see her grandkids. Just wonderful. So yeah, I guess the za makes me more inclined to other people's problems in life, whereas if I'm not faded, I seem to focus mostly on my own without taking into account others. But it's not that simple if we're trying to answer the question of, does being high make you a better person? Because another way to look at it is, it just makes you more lazy. Like the example of the grandma crossing the street. What if the difference in reaction is not that of me being just a great all-around guy, but the za just making me forget why I was in a rush in the first place? Being annoyed, stressed, nervous, etc., although not nice feelings, are symptoms of doing something out of your comfort zone, and doing something outside that zone is really the only way to get anywhere in life. Think about it. Do you know anyone who is actually successful in anything without frequently being stressed? You probably don't. Well, you might, but that dude is just probably some snobby rich kid who embezzles funds from their dad's yacht maintenance fund into their shitty little company they started with their friends that they only use to make it seem like it's them who's making money, when in reality all they're doing is taking funds from their rich parents and putting them into their pocket and telling everybody I worked for it, but hey, what do I know? Anyway, we've concluded that the za can make you a more understanding and better person, but it can also make you a lazy mofo who loses the ability to step outside their comfort zone. So, is it bad? Nah, I mean, not really. As we know, the key to everything in life is moderation. And if practiced correctly, it can help you with literally everything, not just the zaza. My point here is that there is a time and place for everything, so there is no real answer to if the zaza makes you a better person, because it all depends on the context of the situation. So if you're always faded and sit around and eat pizzas and watch the Shaolin Chronicles all day, but then say your philosophy is, bruh, I'm all about peace and love. I don't wanna be like you, stressing out all the time. I chase tranquility. Your argument is not valid to anyone who is trying to achieve something in life besides tranquility. But then again, it goes the other way around as well. So a 24/7 stressed out, always working, never resting dude would say something like, if you want to make it anywhere in life, you can never rest. You gotta outwork everyone, even if that means drinking 6 energy drinks a day, vaping 24/7 to stop the disease of feeling tired, and you gotta sleep a maximum of 4 hours a day to maximize your work time. And obviously, you gotta work out at least 3 hours a day to build that muscle. Like, bro, chill. You might be rich, but what does that matter if you die at 35? Obviously, these are two extremes, both at different far ends of the spectrum, and really, you should try to position yourself somewhere in the middle. There is a time and place for everything, especially for the green magic plant, because if you start frequently using it, it really does take your edge away, and if your goal for life isn't only tranquility, then that is definitely a bad thing. Then again, if you're an uber-focused person who finds it very hard to relax even when they should be, then the Zaza can definitely help you in that department and give you a well-deserved break. And dare I say, it can even make you a better person. Or at least make it seem like it to the people around you, cause in reality, you're the same guy, just on a different planet. For example, here are some everyday situations whilst high versus when you aren't. Number 1, someone asks you to do the laundry, but you're not high. Hey bro, can you please do the laundry? Okay, I will. Versus if you are high. Hey bro, can you please do the Of course I'll do the laundry. You did it last time, it's only fair. Second situation, you're stuck in traffic on a sunny day whilst you're not high. How long is this shit gonna take? I should have just taken the second road. Versus when you are high. Ooh, is that a new Porsche? Damn, that guy must be rich. So nice just bathing under the sun in this traffic. Oh, shit, I gotta move. Number 3, you're in the cinema. And you're high. This is awesome. Versus you're not high. This is lame. Okay, the last one didn't really add anything to the video. I just really like being high in the cinema. Anyway, I hope you learned something from this video and maybe achieved tranquility. 10,000 BC, a group of cavemen in the Oki Islands of Japan needed some warmth and wanted to start a fire when they discovered a funny looking green plant and either out of curiosity or desperation took it and inadvertently created history's first ever hotbox. Yet this early grass was not that loud that people be smoking today because as we know over the years the za has been scientifically and artificially cultivated to be much more concentrated in the high it gives. So although it is funny to think about a group of cavemen purposely starting a fire in a small shelter for the sole purpose of getting faded in a hoe, it is unlikely that it actually ever happened. Yet aside from this iffy recreational stint in Japan, hemp was first commonly used in the lands that are modern day Mongolia and China for more practical uses like eating it. Which after saying that you might be imagining something like this. Yo, what's up? How you doing? Had any fun with those new seeds I gave you? Yo, nah, I actually came here to give them back. Last night I was looking at the moon and I swear that motherfucker was looking right back at me. But alas, this probably wasn't the reality because the THC levels in this early cultivated Zaza were just really low, but soon the Chinese would discover that the holy plant's fibers were also great for making stuff too, like clothes, paper, and bowstrings. Which turns out hemp fibers were superior to the bamboo ones used by rivaling factions, allowing the Chinese to shoot their arrows much further. So basically, back in the day, if you were having a long distance bow battle and were losing, you might have screamed out, "We need to get closer! These motherfuckers have weed!" Anyway, it wasn't long after when mofos realized that the loud wasn't only good for making stuff, it was also great for treating physical maladies. And after a couple thousand years, Emperor Shen Nung, known as the father of Chinese medicine, included the magic plant in his medical encyclopedia under the name Ma. Which, that sounds oddly similar to Za, doesn't it? I'm guessing every couple thousand years the first letter changes or something. But now, let's explore the question we're all asking. When exactly did mofos start ripping that shit to get faded? Well, one of the earliest counts is about 2,500 years ago when researchers discovered 10 mini barbecues in a cemetery near modern-day Tajikistan that had residue of burnt cannabis with a much higher concentration of THC than normal, probably meaning it was selectively bred to get you, well, lit. Although this was one of the first counts of people purposely inhaling the broccoli to get high, it was most likely used as part of a ritual to invoke an altered state of mind so you could communicate with spirits. Which shit, dog, I wanna know what these dudes were smoking, cause I ain't never heard of no grass that gets you to the spirit realm. This might have low-key been the last kush Snoop Dogg smoked, cause once you get so high you start communicating with your dead gran-gran, that's when you really might be like, okay, I think it's about time I stop smoking this shit. Since cannabis for one reason or another proved to be quite the useful plant, people started trading it around the world as soon as it was domesticated. Which the only people who didn't really fuck with the Zaza were Europeans who preferred getting hammered instead. Which is low-key reflected in modern times too, especially in the northern countries where once you turn 18 you can drink as much poison as you want, but if you want a blaze, well, you might be looking at a little bit of jail time, my boy. But now let's quickly go over the uses of cannabis throughout different cultures so we can move on to the modern age, starting with Hindus. They made something called bang, an edible cannabis paste that had medicinal properties but also got you high. This could be added to a variety of foods and drinks, which this bang was the preferred food of the Hindu god Shiva, making him in my eyes the god of edibles. Disclaimer, that was a joke. Islam. Here the za was called hashish and was introduced about 1,000 years ago, which hashish wasn't strictly forbidden in the Quran at first, so a lot of Muslims ate it for its medicinal and relaxation properties. But later, Egypt basically banned it, and also the Quran was revisited by many and reinterpreted to include hashish to be banned just like alcohol. The Vikings. These dudes basically used the za to make rope, sailcloth, and other things, but also for its medicinal properties, mostly to relieve pain, and to date there's no hard evidence that they consumed it for its recreational use, but you know, maybe they should have, because they were quite the horrendous savages and murderers, so it might have made them think a little bit about peace and love. But what about America, England, and the actual global world powers? How did they react to weed? Well, again, like the Chinese, Europeans and Americans at first prominently used the magic green plant in the 16th to 18th century for more practical things like making sailcloth and rope, which the plant itself grew much larger in the New World soil, and combined with the practicality of it, everything started being hemp-derived. Clothes, paper, well, basically anything that required fibers. But the question still remains, when did mofos start smoking that shit to get blasted on the regular? Cause although at some point you, your neighbor, your grandma, your boss, and even George Washington were out here growing weed, wasn't nobody out here rolling them up. Well, until the arrival of Mexicans. The loud version of hemp first arrived in Brazil in the early 1500s by way of enslaved Africans traveling with the Portuguese. And the native South Americans, who are already consuming some other psychoactive substances, quickly started blazing the Zaza too, and its use soon spread across South America and into Mexico, from which in the 1910s is when the loud first spread into the US, via Mexican immigrants escaping the effects of the Mexican Revolution. And almost immediately the good was viewed as a threat, and by 1931, 29 states had banned its use. Although it wasn't really the Zaza that the US didn't fall with, it was unfortunately mostly just racism against Mexican Americans and black citizens of the South, which both these groups were enjoyers of the za to some regard, so it became a scapegoat for racial bias in the US, and they blamed it for everything from petty crimes all the way to murder. And in 1937, the US completely banned all non-medical use of weed, which all this kind of explains why the mostly peaceful plant has been thrown in the same Schedule 1 category with full-on life-destroying substances like heroin and cocaine. But thankfully, a couple decades later came the hippie movement of the 1960s to 1970s. This is what lightly sparked the comeback for weed, cause unlike before, when the Zaza was mostly smoked by Mexican immigrants and black citizens who the US was massively racist against, the hippie movement had middle-class white American youth start blazing too. Which it was all about love, peace, spirituality, non-violence, and of course, every hippie's favorite, recreational drug use. Although most hippies were all about peace and love, that was quite easy to say when most of them were literally privileged enough to drop out of college, run off with Cassandra in a rainbow van, go on copious amounts of mindset-altering trips, mostly powered by LSD, and then return 10 years later to their parents and have them say,
"It's okay, son. I was young and stupid once too."
Anyway, although the grass was still federally illegal, this didn't really do much, cause in 1976, 1 in 8 Americans over the age of 12 admitted to smoking it in the past 30 days. Hippies though were especially interested in cannabis, so much so they went on something called the Hippie Trail, which was basically an excursion by the youths of the world to go over to the Middle East and India, all while riding in magic buses and discovering new ways to get absolutely blasted, such as smoking the concentrated Zaza resin known as hash. But acquiring the Zaza would soon get much harder, because you see, most of it came from Mexico, so in 1969 the US started patrolling the border, and in 1975 they got even more aggressive and started spraying herbicide on Mexican weed plants. And so good old supply and demand made grass prices skyrocket, which a lot of people started then growing the plant themselves in mini greenhouses, closets, bathtubs, storage units, basements, wherever they could. But then in 1982, Mr. Smarty Pants Ronald Reagan took it even a step further by encouraging the streamlined arrest of anyone in possession of an illegal substance, which was really dumb because most of the focus was on pot, all while crack, meth, and heroin were all still being transported and consumed on a regular basis. Even worse, this enforcement seemed to be racially motivated because despite plenty of traffickers and consumers being white, the majority of arrests were Latino and black youths, all while this bizarre over-focus on cannabis allowed the growing opioid epidemic epidemic to go unchecked. But thankfully, the US is slowly learning from their mistakes, where today 24 states have legalized the recreational use of marijuana. On top of that, the increased level of research on it has also found multiple medical use cases and can be prescribed to you by special doctors if seen fit. And although the Zaza is still federally illegal and a Schedule 1 drug, the overall perception of it has changed for the better, including in December 2022 when President Biden signed a bill to make it easier for researchers to obtain plants for their studies, which will hopefully accelerate the learning of positive and negative side effects of consuming the ZA even further. But all that aside, the overall vibe towards the loud has gotten a lot more accepting, and these days more and more people view the smoking of the grass not as you being a junkie, but the same way as having a couple beers with the homies on a Friday night and watching some WWE. As I looked in the mirror and saw nothing but an empty vessel wandering the wrong plane of existence staring back, I got a bit frightened, cause man, I swear, my reflection was not moving in sync with me yet again. But this time, it was even worse, cause I was like 4 times higher than I was when I first did edibles. So what happened next, you might be wondering? I was bugging out, looking like an uncooked steak, and I couldn't focus on anything longer than 1 second. Well, I went to sleep. Cause one good thing I will say about the trip, the comfortability I felt in my bed was unlike anything I've ever felt before. My blanket was just a perfect temperature, my mattress the perfect fit, and my pillow the perfect place to lay your head. And because of that, and I'm not exaggerating on this, the very second I closed my eyes, I was asleep. Well, not like deep sleep, but nap sleep. Anyway, after closing my eyes, in about 3 minutes, I was completely knocked out. And well, I slept so much like a baby, I actually believe the ZA manipulated my very core and reverted my cells and body shape to that of when I was 3 months old, to enable me to get the full experience of sleeping like a baby. Only problem was though, as I woke up like literally 10 hours later, I was still high AF. Not like can't see straight high, but like just hit the BONG high. To be honest, I was just amazed, cause I knew if we had smoked that amount of ZA we put in the cookies, we might have been really lit, but nothing like we were from the cookies. And after that day, I have now learned my lesson that actual strong edibles are more comparable to mushrooms than normal bud. Mushrooms are a lot like that one friend who is always talking and it kind of annoys you, but at the same time you love him cause you know he's always keeping it real with you. So if you are fiending for a third eye awakening on some Dragon Ball Super shit, you better be ready for the shroomy shrooms to take you through the depths of your unconscious, where it will dig out and highlight questions about your very fabric of existence, like, who am I? Why are we here? Do I like men? But anyway, that doesn't happen the very instant you eat the shrooms. In fact, the stages of a mushroom trip are so different, each one of them could be considered a substance of their own. But the first stage everyone experiences is Stage 1, Ingestion/come up. Right after consuming those Mario power-ups, you might feel your stomach twist and turn a bit, as your body is signaling to you, this shit was not food, wasn't it? But thankfully, it's usually pretty minor and goes away after a few minutes. While waiting for the shrooms to kick, you probably stare at a bunch of random objects hoping to find some type of moving pattern, cause that's what shrooms are supposed to do, right? Well, yeah, kind of, but after 30 minutes goes by and you're still staring at the wall with no sign of visual hallucinations, you probably think to yourself, man, I got scammed, didn't I? But then you start really thinking about it. Are you feeling something? And then you think about the next thing, and the next thing, and then you might laugh at something completely random like this picture of SpongeBob, and boom, you now realize they weren't duds, and you're about to go on a journey, bro. Also, after all this, you probably move on to Stage 2, Questions that lead to more questions. You're at the point now where you know the shroom's kicking, but you don't really see any visuals except for maybe the increased significance of every object, but the main thing is you have started questioning everything you know, but not in a scary way of nothing matters, there is no point. More of a, man, I love hanging out with Charlie. Wait, do I though? What type of person is he actually? He's friendly, but kinda secretive and keeps to himself. What is he keeping to himself? Could he be a totally different person? Am I becoming a better person by hanging out with him? What is going on? So yeah, this stage can be very eye-opening to some, especially if you're the type of person to hang on to problems and worries instead of facing them. Because however hard you try not to think about something, the shrooms won't let you. And although it might seem like that's a bad thing, it's actually not. And you should treat this time of the trip to pinpoint the main questions you would like to receive some type of answers to by the end. Because soon after, you're gonna go to Stage 3. Holy shit! The mushrooms are now almost at full effect, and you're definitely seeing some hallucinations, like moving patterns, disfigured items, wavy hands, etc. But to be honest, that isn't really the main thing, because if you approach this trip with the right mindset, as in you wanted to actually take something with you to the real world afterwards, then currently you are most likely intensely trying to piece together the answers to the questions you highlighted on the previous stage. But it ain't as easy as it seems. It feels like you were constantly on a breakthrough to something really important and significant, but then you lose it and have to start again with the pieces you left off with. But if you stick with it, you'll always figure something out. Maybe not the full picture, but something. Also, you shouldn't blame yourself if you start talking or thinking about something that you feel is very amazing, but then halfway through realize you literally pondering about the implications of the evolution of the Pringles Man logo, bruh. But not to worry, that's the beauty of shrooms. They make you think about everything on a deeper level, and if you can find the correct things to think about through the clutter of Matrix conspiracy theories, you'll still emerge victorious. Speaking about emerging, the next stage is Stage 4. The slow come down. You are now slowly coming down from the shrooms, which is indicated by the fact you don't see as many trippy patterns anymore, but also you're more realistic in your thoughts as well. Also, at this point, you probably aren't bouncing from thought to thought as much anymore and have chosen a definitive couple of things to think about. And with those things, you will find answers, but also a lot of new questions, which can be frustrating, well, until you get to the next and final stage. Stage 5. Journey complete. At this point, you have almost completely came down from the magic, but not really, because although you don't see any hallucinations anymore, you feel more in touch with reality and yourself. The best way I can describe this stage is like it's the fruit of your labor. This is the stage where you've gone through the constant questions and search for answers and come out victorious. Best way I can describe it is like you're high off some Zaza, but with a much clearer head. So this is the perfect time to play some video games, watch a movie, or do really anything you find fun.
Getting faded, a now respectable and honorable pastime that is indulged in by all types of people all around the world. Athletes smoke up, construction workers smoke up, subway workers smoke up, well, at this point, I'm starting to believe that's part of their job agreement. But anyway, everybody seems to be puffing on that grass in 2024. Though it wasn't always like this. I don't know about you, but for me, just 10 years ago, getting high was shunned upon by society, and doing so painted you out to be a junkie. Boy, must those accusers feel stupid now, when these days you can literally walk into a gas station and buy an eighth of OG skim cooked by Kim Kardashian, walk out with a blunt in your mouth, stroll by the police station high as fuck, and finish your day at the public park by taking a shit. Okay, that last part is still very much illegal and, well, disgusting, but you get my point. With the amount of celebrity brands out there and half of the US already legalized and European countries catching up too, it really is Gen Z's alcohol replacement. But it isn't all good. The rising growth of the ZA industry has also spawned some products that seem to kind of defeat the whole all natural aspect. Hello sir, what can I get for you today? Yeah, I'm just looking for something to get me faded before I go top golfing tomorrow. Oh yes, best product for you is this. It has 3 gram THC, 2 gram HHC, 1.5 gram of THC, 4 gram THC, and to top it off, 0.5 gram gas. Bestseller and lasts you very long. Yeah, I just want to get a slight buzz before I make a fool out of myself at top golf. That seems like it's a bit too strong and, well, unnatural. No unnatural. Gas is for strawberries and PO is for headache. All good. But I understand you want good relaxing high. I have pre-rolls. Oh, nice. Yeah, those would probably work. Good. So here is Gorilla Destroyer Infused Keef covered 7 gram Vibe Elevator by Selena Gomez. Retail price 100, I give you for 70. Bro. So unfortunately, like with all good things that capitalism touches, without proper regulations, things can get out of hand fast. But if you do a little bit of research and properly react to red flags, aka if a disposable has 4 different types of synthetic it's probably not the best purchase, even if the retailer does say it is bestseller. But things are moving on the right path. Well, maybe not path, but at least like general direction. Back in the day, getting quality was hard. I mean, you needed connects. A guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. You needed to be a part of this criminal underworld just so you could pack a bowl at the end of your day and play Super Smash Bros, brah. These days, all you need is a debit or credit card, access to the internet, and a mailbox. Or just a smartphone, which I'm all for, cause unless you were lucky enough to have a super rare type of plug, the friendly neighborhood plug, as your Zaza retailer, getting felt like a RuneScape quest. I remember back in high school, my only plug was this dude who, besides grass, also dabbled in some, well, let's say less natural. And even though I never gave him any reason to suspect that I would be interested in buying his pure that didn't stop him from trying to upsell me every chance he got.
What's up, man?
What's good?
Here's the you requested.
Thanks. Can you let me out now?
Sure, but first, try out my new product. It's called Fanta.
What's that? It's like a new strain?
Nah. It's Fanta. It's Fanta. What are you doing?
Oh, don't mind me. I'm just calling the cops on our town's first supervillain, you scumbag. Like, what's hard to understand? I just want the za. Please stop trying to get me hooked on your South American products, bro. But it isn't all good now either. If you're in a non-legalized state or country, you'll mostly get your za from online or shops, which finding a good, reputable, non-overpriced shop is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Shut up, do not. It took me down here 10 different shops in Florida to find one that checked all the boxes. And even then, you gotta pray that they don't run out of stock on the brand or product you trust and know to be gas. Cause I don't know about you, but there really ain't many situations in the world that can bum you out more than buying some za and saving it for the end of your day only to realize, bro, is it just me, or did the oregano we smoked in high school smack harder than this 2-gram infused premium pre-roll? Yeah, nah, this shit more red than pine tree stems. Thank God I brought the meth. Some of these brands are just straight finessers, and it's up to you to discover the ones that aren't and whose stuff actually gets you where you're trying to go. But you also gotta keep in mind, there's levels to getting faded, and depending on what level you at will determine the type of grass you'll be looking for. There's always some dude who comments on the $5 pre-roll budget micro J listing like,
NGL, kind of disappointed. Smoked this after 3 dabs, barely felt higher. 0 out of 10.
Of course you didn't feel nothing. The product wasn't even marketed towards you. Some people just don't realize how deep the iceberg of tolerance goes. If you can manage to do even one big dab and not geek the fuck out and just chill, there ain't no amount of budget on planet Earth that'll get you where you trying to go, bruh. Shit, my man could be in the middle of that Far Cry Free scene where Jason has burned down the farm. Instead of running away, he'd be out here critiquing the quality of the
Mid.
What I'm trying to say is that to avoid the 7 deadly sin disappointment, make sure you don't cheap out on your za unless you know your tolerance and experience allows it. Like, I ain't a heavy destroyer, but even for me who smokes up once a day at the end of the day, those $4 pre-rolls just don't get me that high. Or do cheap out. Just don't blame me when you get home, smoke up, put on some Adam Sandler, and Adam Sandler ain't funny no more. Thinking about, maybe I'll put on the news.
The baby will be born, and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby.
No! Did he say they're executing the babies? Executing? These reality TV comedy networks always get me, man. But hey, at least you don't have to be risking jail time no more, nor even be involved in illegal dealings with your old plug. Unless you had a professional plug who over the years became a true businessman and did the good old switcheroo, aka removed the first 2 letters from his business model while not changing the type of business he conducts at all. Gotta love capitalism. Although I gotta admit, back then the za just felt more exotic cause what I had to do to get it. I've grown so accustomed to all these fancy strains, I've low-key forgotten the days of, what's up, man? So you got the stuff, the good?
Yeah, of course. Here's the za.
Smell is pretty mild. Kinda crumbly too. You got anything else, man?
Yeah, sure, I got Galaxy Gas. What you need?
No, I mean like a different strain. Strain? Where you think we are, California? Be happy with what you getting, man. Next dude is leaving this car with this 1/8 of oregano. Motherfucker. Shit! Gee, okay, man.
Yeah, bro, I'm hooking you up right here. This shit's straight from Hawaii. Galaxy super gas. This shit will have you risen up level 10 yachts in no time, bruh. Just make sure they don't phantom tax it too.